in today's show. Oh yeah, it's a live trade deadline show. We're going to break down the deals that have happened, the ones that are going to happen. We're going to live react. We're going to give you our thoughts as it goes on. The big fella's ready. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_Beeble, on TikTok at redrock_Beeble, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Welcome to all you legends that are here at the beginning of the live stream. I'm sure more people will trickle in as we get going. We are going to talk about things that have happened. Yes, you've already seen my live reaction to Kevin Durant, my reaction to Jakob Poeltl, my reaction to Russell Westbrook trade. We'll cover that if there's a little bit of time, but there have been deals that have happened while I've been trying to get some sleep, and we're going to break them down straight away here, and I am joined to start today's show. I better give him a Gilly there before we get in there. Warnie?
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right, here it is. Matt Lawson is here. Matt, welcome.
Josh, I am so fired up to be here. It feels like a quarter of the NBA has already changed teams just in the last 24 hours. I went to bed last night around midnight thinking, hey, okay, we've probably seen about everything that we're going to see, and just wake up with my notifications obliterated. The Woj bombs were plentiful and none bigger than Kevin Durant moving. But it's been great even to see today. A lot of the business of this trade deadline has already happened, and yet we have over an hour left. And it feels like there could be some big surprises around the corner for us.
Do you have any, like, people ask me this all the time, like, what's your big surprise? Like, what's your hot take of a player getting traded? Like, yesterday someone asked me and said, I reckon an all-star or a future all-star will get traded. And then, like, of course, 4 of them got traded. So who do you think, what's your big call for today?
Based on what we're seeing, I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to need to do a quick turnaround. They own their draft pick this year. They could technically tank, but they've only got about 28 games left. So they really need to build this future roster now that they don't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving through trades. And they've got a warehouse full of good playoff rotation players. We've already seen some of them move out the door with Jay Crowder heading off to Milwaukee, which we'll get into in a moment. But I think it's possible we could see Mikal Bridges move. There's already been some smoke around that they could move on. There's also been talk that they won't do it, but that could be leverage because he could be one of the biggest trade pieces, one of the best contracts in the NBA, and obviously a player who would help any playoff team. Is he part of their foundation in the future? He could be, but he also could be the player that they could move to be able to recoup a lot of the draft assets that they lost in the James Harden trade.
Well, he's like, if OG Anunoby is going to go for 2 or 3 first, then Bridges should go for about the same. So look, and I talked about this yesterday, that they've just got so many wings on that team that it's just too many. Like, there's 5 starting caliber or rotation caliber 3-and-D wings. One of them's gone, which we'll talk about in a second, in Jay Crowder. In fact, let's just get on and bang through these trades, because there's not a huge amount to talk about with these deals. So we'll get into them straight away. The first one we want to talk about happened between the Celtics and the Thunder. Mike Muscala goes to Boston. The Thunder get Justin Jackson. They waive him. They get 2 second-round picks. Muscala just moves into like the Luke Cornett role. That doesn't really matter too much for fantasy. What it does do, I think, obviously just gives a little bit more runway for, say, Jalen Williams, the Pig Williams in Oklahoma City, because he's been starting to play well. Not that they're going to necessarily commit to a starting center every game, but it just gives him maybe 2 to 3 extra minutes, which bumps him to me from like 18-team leagues to 16 to maybe the fringe of 14-team leagues.
Yeah, this is one of those items of business that we knew was going to happen today. The Celtics needed to be able to add another big to their rotation that they could rely on. Muscala gives them a little bit of spacing to allow them to play 5 out in certain lineups, especially bench lineups. It's a solid addition, but as you said, the only real impact is that we're getting ready for, to look at what the Thunder's rotation is going to be down the stretch. And I do agree that Arkansas Jalen Williams could get more time as a result.
Yeah, he's been really good. He's got a really high assist rate as a center. He's got a shocking block rate, but he's got a really high assist rate. And we talked about him 2 days ago on the show saying, hey, just watch. Things are starting to push up there. But that's really all we need to go through with that trade. I don't think there's too much to go with there. Hey, guys, if you are watching this live, hit a thumbs up. If I can get to like 500 likes on this show, 1,000 likes. We're already at 500. Hit 1,000 likes on this show. That would be sick. I think there's over 1,000 people in here at the moment. Let's go to the next deal, which is something that I talked a little bit about yesterday once that Lakers trade happened. I said, I reckon Tom Bryant's out of the rotation. And he's definitely out of the Lakers rotation now because he's not going to be playing for them anymore. He moves to Denver to take over the DeAndre Jordan minutes as the backup center there. People were still holding onto him in 12-team leagues, probably for 2 weeks too long, pretty clearly. Obviously, we're not doing that now. He moves to Denver in exchange for Davon Reed and 3 second-round picks. This just impacts DeAndre Jordan's minutes, and it impacts someone like a Zeke Naji as well. Denver could still make some moves, but Bryant, I think, is an upgrade there, even though he's horrendous defensively. He gives them something as a backup center, which DeAndre Jordan wasn't. There's nothing to see with Davon Reed, though, is there?
No, and I don't expect that he'll play at all for the Lakers, especially given how much they've added to the rotation in the last 24 hours. I think the big story here is we see that the Lakers are continuing to thin out the front court rotation that they did have, getting rid of Thomas Bryant, getting rid of Damian Jones, who really wasn't playing much to begin with, but it leaves behind Jared Vanderbilt to play a pretty substantial role for the Lakers going forward.
Do you think he starts?
Possibly even starting? Yeah, that's about to say. I mean, I think that's a real possibility. I like the fit with him and Anthony Davis to some degree, but I mean, I think Davis has been operating at his best, being forced to be a more traditional big man, and the less you're relying on Anthony Davis to take outside shots, you're probably using him correctly. So I could see Vanderbilt starting because his energy is going to be so important to that Lakers roster, especially on defense. But we'll see. They're probably going to have to play around with a few different rotations, including with Rui Hachimura starting as well.
Yeah, that's my issue with it, is that Davis just isn't an outside shooter anymore. He never takes them. He can't hit them really. So him and Vanderbilt together would be a little bit iffy. And you've got LeBron, who functions better at a 4, Rui, who functions better at the 4 as well. When you've got this abundance now of guys on the wing that can slide into those roles, like Malik Beasley. There's so many different, Beverly and Schroeder and Russell and all these guys at the 1 through 3 that I'm not convinced that Vanderbilt starts. I think he will play a little bit of the 4, but I'm not 100. I think someone was arguing with me that Vanderbilt's not a center. Like, he's played almost exclusively center all season this year, and I think they're priming him to be the backup center with some crossover minutes at the 4. But I'm not sure of the Vanderbilt Davis fit offensively with that lack of shooting, especially when they've seemed to prioritize, hey, Russell can shoot, Beasley can shoot, let's get shooters around these guys, and then you slot Vanderbilt in for 30 minutes and ooh, well, here's another guy that can't shoot, and that sort of goes back to that old problem. So that's why I'm a little bit skeptical while we look at this and go in Woj tweets, hey, they're doing this to clear out minutes to Jared Vanderbilt. Yeah, sure, but is that 20 minutes or is it 28 minutes? And that's where I'm a little skeptical because of that shooting fit.
I think defensively it might be what they need, though, and that's the issue. It's the give or take of that, because if you look at, all of a sudden you're playing D'Angelo Russell, and the defensive problems that come with that. Malik Beasley is not a strong defender, and what he's giving you is on the offensive end, with his shooting ability, and then you're a little bit undersized if you have Austin Reeves on the wing. I mean, you can go bigger with Rui, and obviously Patrick Beverley is going to work in as well. But the defensive anchor of this team already was Anthony Davis, and it's going to give teams a lot of problems to have Davis and Vanderbilt on the court at the same time defensively. I just don't know how they make the offense work.
We'll get to the next trade in a second, but I do have to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. 2023, we all want to get our finances into control, and some of that is just curbing spending. And sometimes we're spending money on things that we don't even know about. So you can try this try it for free for 30 days. It's enough time to try and completely forget about subscription. Like, if you sign up for something, hey, it's free thing, look, you sign up, you'll see how it goes, then you forget. And then they just charge your credit card all the time. Well, Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about, like that streaming service that you bought just to watch the one show on, or that free trial that you never even used. Rocket Money helps you simply find the subscriptions that you don't want, You just press cancel. It's done. It's gone. Rocket Money cancels it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as a click of a button. We've all got it. We all know we've got these things. We say, oh man, I've got to get around to cancel that. It's a real pain to go and do it. Rocket Money makes it simple. So stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. Well, as soon as I said let's hit 1,000 likes, we hit 1,000 likes. So let's hit 2,000. Let's get those thumbs right up. I'm open. Multiple thumbs. Throw them right up. We'll get in there. Matt, let's talk about the trade that does have names that are more important, I think. Pacers, Nets, and Bucks. The Bucks get Jay Crowder. The Pacers get Serge Ibaka, Jordan Nwora, 2 second-round picks. These second-round picks are all over the place. So if a detail is wrong here, I apologize, but stuff has been a little bit all over the place. And the Nets get 5 second-round picks. Why? I've got no idea. But they get 5 second-round picks. We were a little bit worried yesterday. Like I was trying to figure out what the hell happens with the Nets and all of these wings they got while Crowder's out of there. So that helps solidify things for Finney-Smith, for Johnson, for Thomas, for O'Neal. Bridges was going to get his minutes regardless. The Pacers get Ibaka and Nwora. I know people see these and go, man, Serge Ibaka to the Pacers. Does that mean that Isaiah Jackson's getting traded? No, this is just a nothing trade. Ibaka's not going to play. Nwora is not going to take preference over Mathurin, maybe over Duarte, but not over Mathurin or Nembhard or any of these guys. This is just really a transactional thing for the Pacers to get a couple of second-round picks. The Nets get their picks. And I guess the one the majority of people want to talk about for fantasy is Jay Crowder. To me, I don't care. He's not going to start. He might play 25, 26 minutes. The bloke hasn't played in 5-6 months. Shams is out here Dutch rudding him. Man, look at it. He takes teams to the finals. No, he doesn't. Or he's a culture setter. Oh, yeah, the culture setter that quit on his team. Yeah, that bloke. Yeah, awesome. He's not playing over Middleton. He's not playing over Giannis. When Portis comes back, probably not playing over Portis. Is he actually playing over Pat Connaughton? I don't know. They are absolutely stacked in terms of now some wing pieces, but he's in no chance to me a 10, 12, maybe not even a 14-team league guy.
No, if you're going to get any fantasy value out of Jay Crowder, it's the scenario that we saw last year where he was playing large enough minutes to be able to have some, mild contributions across categories. But in what this will be, which is not a starting role, is likely to be around a 20-minute role off of the Bucks bench. There's just nothing to his fantasy game that's going to allow him to be productive in most leagues in that limited of a number of minutes.
Yeah, look, you're right. He played, 29, 30 minutes a night last season. He was really a back-end 12-team league player, and he's not going to play that. He's not going to start over Middleton and Giannis, and Middleton's not even starting because he comes back from injury. There's Pat Connaughton there. And he hasn't played for 5 months, or when did the Suns get knocked out? In May. He hasn't played a competitive NBA game since May. So we're not expecting huge amounts out of him, and he's definitely not a priority. At least I get to do this.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
He can take the crown back from PJ Washington Jr., although they can share that sound drop as we move forward. The other trade is one. Oh, actually, let's do another Pacers Bucks trade because this apparently was a separate transaction between the Pacers and the Bucks. The Pacers get George Hill in a second-round pick, and the Bucks get away from George Hill. We haven't really seen what else the Bucks get in this deal. The Pacers taking him onto space. There'll be draft rights to some random person you've never heard of before coming back in that deal, but we don't need to worry about that. George Hill is a third point guard behind McConnell and Halliburton, and he's not going to have any impact. The Pacers just acquiring washed-up players with name value that used to be good 5 years ago. The next trade is the one that I am more interested in, Matt. I'm just going to bring it up on my screen because I'm trying to produce this all at the back end. This is the interesting one. The Blazers, the Hornets, and the Sixers. The Blazers get the painter Matisse Thybulle. The Hornets get screwed Svi Mykhailiuk and second-round picks. The Sixers get Jalen McDaniels. I'll start on the Sixers side of things, getting Jalen McDaniels. To me, that's a real... he was already a drop to me. I think I said that yesterday on the show. He's a clear drop now. He's going to play 20 minutes a game, maybe. He's a useful player. I don't know what the Hornets are thinking, but I can just slap that on any time I talk about the Hornets. So Jalen McDaniels is gone, and he's a clear 10, 12-team league drop. What do you think about his... you're the dynasty guy. What do you think about McDaniels' dynasty value now?
I mean, I have really been impressed with him in extended action in Charlotte this year. And obviously this was the guy that we were intrigued with coming into the season because we knew he had a similar stat set and skill set to his brother, who has become a bit of a breakout young player in Minnesota. this is such great business by Gerald Morey to be able to get an NBA wing with this kind of size to come off of the bench. It's going to be helpful in the playoffs. It gives them, assuming Doc Rivers uses them correctly, we're going to get someone who can at least give them real minutes in the playoffs and help them against some of the better wings in the East. So I love it as a move there. For the dynasty prognosis with McDaniels, it hurts it. I mean, it would have been nice for him to be able to stay in Charlotte, even if they do eventually get Miles Bridges back, even if they add back some talent. There's just a lot less talent on that Charlotte roster, an opportunity for him to continue to develop and grow into a larger role. This will be a role on Philadelphia that's going to be a little bit more limited, a little bit more just 3-and-D. And he does have some skill. He does have a handle, but I don't think that he's going to get to be able to show up too much of that in the limited action that he's going to be getting in the Sixers rotation going forward.
He played like 17, 18 minutes last game for Charlotte, and there was already going to be a squeeze there with Hayward coming back and then Oubre on the return. He was going to struggle to get 20 minutes, and if Cody Martin ever decided to play, or not he decided to play, if his knee ever allowed him to play, then he'd be struggling there. So he's going to come off the bench. He's going to battle with George Niang. He's going to battle PJ Tucker for minutes, and there's just like he needs a runway of 30 minutes and decent usage to be a 12-team league player because he's just not much like his brother. You talk about breakout stars, like they're good players, but they don't accumulate any sort of fantasy stats really at all. Like it takes so much to actually push them even to get to the top 100, and it's just not going to have that opportunity there, I don't think. Luke goes to the Hornets, like, cool. What are these idiots? Like, what are they doing? Like, honestly, they traded away Jalen Duren so they could get 4 second-round picks. Now they trade away Jalen McDaniels for second-round picks. What's the point of it? I don't get what they're doing. You've got players on your team you should probably trade away who are old versus the younger guys and getting back nothing in return. But the question people will want to know is, what do we think about Matisse Thybulle going to Portland? Is he a 12-team ad? My initial thoughts are maybe.
Yeah, I think that we're in a scenario now with a lot of pieces in Portland that could be playing on the wing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, as we'll see as we move on, I mean, them not only did you already have Nasir Little, trying to stick in the rotation, having some nice moments occasionally, and they're obviously invested in him with the long-term contract. Adding in Thybulle, adding in Cam Reddish. I mean, this is going to be a real competition to be able to see who can get the developmental minutes there. I don't know who they're going to prioritize in the short term. It could be Reddish for the fact that they need to determine whether they're going to be giving him a new contract in the offseason.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it was Josh Hart playing 31, 32 minutes a night, and that's gone. You go, well, so there's an opportunity. And then there's like 5 guys who could step in. Cam Reddish is a really interesting 3-and-D player, especially for fantasy. If he gets those minutes, he can hit threes in big volume. Not always accurately, but he can get good volume up and he can get steals. He struggles in a lot of other areas. There's Thybulle, who can come in and get you 1.5 steals and 0.9 blocks in 23 minutes. That's useful as well. There's Nasir Little. There's Gary Payton, who started last game. There's Shaden Sharp, who exploded for like 11 first half points last game. Now, I don't think Sharp's the answer. I also think, I'm interested in your dynasty take on Sharp. I think he's shown a really horrible fantasy skill set so far this season. He's done... he had about 6 assists total for the season, which is pretty rough. I still think he's got plenty of room to be good, but it's been a rough start. So while the Thybulle come in and play Josh Hart's role, I don't think so. Like, I think it's going to be, and I also have to admit, Justice Winslow has got to come back eventually as well, and he's been filling that role as well. So there's like 5 different players who could conceivably play 30 minutes or could conceivably play 10 minutes. And that doesn't make them a clear ad. Like yesterday, I was like, yeah, Reddish maybe, probably 14 teams. Now I'll be more likely to go probably not with Reddish and take a flyer on Thybulle. But we know his limitations, Matt. Like, you're going to get steals and blocks and like 3 points per game. It's not going to change.
It feels like the Blazers turning back the clock to the days of Al Farouk Amino and Mo Harkless bricking threes, like trying out there. Yeah, and I think I get the idea behind some of this. I mean, they're trying to save money because they don't want to have to pay hard. They're worried about how much they're going to have to pay Jeremy Grant, and they need to be able to figure out how to add something on the wing that can make up for the defensive deficiencies of their small backcourt, which was, has been going on forever, first with McCollum and Lillard and now with Simons and Lillard. They need to be able to find some kind of wing defender who can help them compensate for those guys not being able to defend the better players on the in the other team's backcourt. So I get where that's going, but I don't really understand what the plan is going to be for being able to spread these minutes out, or what the plan is for the rest of the season for this team, because it's hard to argue that trading away Josh Hart makes them better, at least in the short term. So I'm going to be interested to see what Portland's plan is to finish out this season. I would imagine it'd be hard for them to be able to tank with Lillard still healthy, but it's hard to come out of this unless there are more moves to think that they're better for having to made the moves that they've made, at least for the rest of this season.
Yeah, it is weird. Like I saw, they're definitely not the most confusing team that I've seen in terms of rotation. That's probably still going to go to the Nets, although the Lakers rotation is up there. But the Blazers now open small forward spot is pretty confusing. Let's talk about the Nets now, Matt, because we know that trade that went down yesterday. Crowder's out of that mix. How do you figure this out? Like, what would be your best guess at a Nets starting five at the moment? Because I'm really struggling with it.
I've been looking at that since I found out about the Kevin Durant trade this morning, and honestly, it's one of the strangest rosters that you'll see, because they built this team to be able to have a bunch of players complementary to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They added in even more wing talent through the Kevin Durant trade, bringing in Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. And now you're left with a team where there's very little shot creation beyond Cam Thomas, who I don't know how this is going to play out. And I think the Nets will make more trades, so it probably doesn't even make sense to worry about what this roster looks like at the moment, because they should be moving on these players. A lot of these, the Nets may make the playoffs because they banked enough wins to be able to do so. They could press forward with this roster and get enough shot creation out of Cam Thomas and Spencer Dinwiddie to be able to put up at least a functional NBA offense, and then have some really nice defensive pieces. Obviously Cam Thomas and Spencer Dinwiddie aren't going to be helping you that much in that regard. But to be able to have Royce O'Neal, to have Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, what they can throw out there with Nick Claxton being a Defensive Player of the Year candidate on top of it is actually a really good defense. But it's a defense that most NBA contenders would love to have, and they'd love to have some of those players on it. I have to think that the Nets and Sean Marks are going to make some moves to be able to move on some of these players, because it doesn't make sense to go into next year with a roster that looks like this. And right now they have teams leveraged. They're going to get the best return on those players compared to the offseason, and I think they'll make that change.
We'll get back and talk about that in a second, but today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. There is only one app that you need at your Super Bowl party, and that's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On, because they're the #1 sportsbook in America, and it is FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. And we're going to do our daily check-in. Are the Eagles still 1.5-point favorites? Yes, they are for the Super Bowl. So nothing's changing. There is just absolutely no move whatsoever. But if I have a look at some of these interesting bets, you got the correct score wager. And there was this random person leaking like a meme about the NFL script being leaked, and the exact score was 37 Eagles, 34 Chiefs, I believe. So I'm going to look what the odds are for that, if that's even listed here, because maybe the script is real. There it is. Plus 22,000 for 37-34. You can check that out on FanDuel if you believe in scripts. The FanDuel Sportsbook is safe, secure, and super easy to use. And best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, so yeah, look, you're right. There is a lot that can still change into, like, with this roster with Brooklyn. I think, Dinwiddie, Claxton, Bridges are going to start if they remain there. Which I think they will. They're going to start, and then it comes down to I think Simmons probably. I know people just hate Ben Simmons, Matt, and they're just like, well, he's going to be out of the rotation. I think that's complete garbage. I don't think there's any way that happens. Maybe he comes off the bench, but I think they'll probably have a starting spot there for him. And then you probably got Cam Thomas in that mix as well. And then it's down to Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, Royce O'Neal. There's just so many rotation pieces there that are really interesting. And people say, well, they need Cam Thomas' shot creation. And I do agree. But Dinwiddie creates a lot of shots. And I actually think that Mikal Bridges can be more of a shot creator. Do you think that Bridges can run as like a number 2 offensively?
I think he may have to for stretches. I don't think that's ideal. I mean, at least if you have championship aspirations. And
well, I'm just going to break in right here. Did you see this? Bones Hyland's just been traded to the Clippers. So Bones Hyland goes to the Clippers. The Thunder and then there's another trade. The Thunder are trading Darius Baisley to the Suns for Dario Saric and a second-round pick. So we don't know what's coming back in this Bones Hyland to the Clippers deal, but to me, that doesn't make Bones Hyland a 12-team league guy. What's your immediate thoughts on that? We'll start with the Bones one.
Yeah, I can't see them deciding to put Bones out there as the point guard, in a starting lineup. I think it's got to be a bench role. And I don't, from what we've seen, I just don't think there's enough bandwidth right now in Bones's game to be able to be a 12-team option if he's going to be in a similar role to what he was previously in Denver earlier this season while he was in the rotation.
Yeah, so I think if that Bones Hyland stash probably isn't going to work out, yes, there's Reggie Jackson minutes, there's Terrence Mann, there's all those guys, but like so many of these Clippers guys, he'll play 21, 22 minutes and he'll, Powell, George, Leonard, these guys will get the shots and he'll sort of sit around doing nothing. So that's I think that kills it. I think that kills the Bones Hyland stash. Interested people in the chat, what do you think about a Bones Hyland stash now that that he's being moved on to the Clippers? In terms of Denver, he wasn't in the rotation anyway, so literally nothing changes with that rotation. I'm just going to bring that across as I again try to self-produce this. At the moment, we don't know what the Nuggets get, but Bones goes there. He's a useful player for them for sure, and he's probably could be an upgrade over Reggie Jackson. Here we go. The Clippers will send the Nuggets 2024 and 2025 second-round picks. All right, which so not a huge amount. So Bones' value, I think Bones is. Where do you think Bones' dynasty value is at?
Everyone loved Bones Hyland in the offseason and startups. He was going around the top 100. There was a lot of excitement, even though obviously the Nuggets brought out about as much as they sent away in the offseason. I think there was an idea that there was a bigger role coming for Bones Hyland. That didn't really come to fruition. He obviously has great per 36 numbers, but it's difficult to be able to find how, unless he's on a bad team, that he's going to be able to get big starters minutes because of his defensive deficiencies. And I don't know if he's ever going to be a good enough offensive player to be able to warrant that unless he's just kind of tank commanding for a team, which is kind of what we hoped with a stash that we were going to be getting on this. Yeah. Some young team that was willing to be able to give him a ton of shots, let him go create. And I don't think that's going to happen, obviously, now on the Clippers. And I think it really hurts his dynasty value because it locks him in likely into, at least for the next couple of years, into more of the same that we've seen in Denver and maybe even less. New
trade just dropped. Warriors are trading James Wiseman to the Pistons for Saddiq Bey. This kills Bey. He's not a 12-team league guy anymore. I don't know what the hell this means for Wiseman. Why do they not believe in Jalen Duren? They shouldn't believe in Isaiah Stewart, so that's good news. I don't think this is an ad for James Wiseman because I think he should still. I think he's worse than Jalen Duren. I think he should still be the backup behind the passport legend Jalen Duren. So we'll talk about that. Oof, Jesus. All right, we'll get to that one in a second, but that's just that trade that went down. The other trade that's just happened here is the Darius Baisley to the Suns. Now, they obviously have a dearth of wings, and I thought Saric could start for them. Do you think Baisley starts, and is he worth adding? And the answer is no, but do you think that he's worth adding?
No. I mein, the problem, Darius Baisley got as long of a runway as possible in Oklahoma City, and they're just giving up on his development here because he's run through his rookie contract. I think that he can be a rotation piece, but I don't see him as someone that we should be interested in fantasy unless he all of a sudden stumbles in to a big minute role, and I just don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening either. So what does that mean, though, in Phoenix? Obviously, there's Durant, and then there's an open spot, and now there's two open spots. So is Torrey Craig back on the 12-team menu? Is TJ Warren on the 12-team menu? God, I hope not. Are they going to go with Ish Wainwright in that mix? And I think all of those guys probably just sort of sit outside of the top 150, 140. If I had to take a flyer on someone, I don't think Warren can play enough minutes, to be honest. But maybe he's the go. I'm not really sure how to work that one out at this point.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be shuttling those guys around to figure out what can stick. But I don't expect any of them to win out to the point where they have significant fantasy value, 12-team fantasy value. I think it's just going to be trying to figure out what sticks before they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've got to really go through and project all of this stuff out in more detail later on, which we will do. But I think there's Warren, there's Craig, there's Wainwright, there's Okogie. in that mix. And I think it's just going to be, like we talked about with Portland, just a bunch of random pieces they sort of shuttle in and out, that someone will have a high value at one point and then that'll drop on and off, and they're not necessarily priority ads. This one is more interesting, this Warriors and Pistons one. This will be the last one we talk about with you, Matt, because do I have someone else coming on? Or I think if you want to hang around, you can hang around, because I don't think I've got anyone coming on for the next half hour. All right, let's go. All right, so we've got the Warriors and the Pistons here. The Warriors get Saddiq Bey. I feel like this is a pretty clear drop for him here. Oh, hang on a second. Hey, whoa.
Yeah.
Back up. Saddiq Bey is going to the Hawks.
Got a big one here.
That's still bad. I don't know how that's good. The Hawks are sending 5 second-round picks for Saddiq Bey. What is with these second-round pick packages? What is going on here?
I mean, I guess the reality is if everyone keeps accepting them to trade, decent rotation players, they have value. But I don't understand it either.
I don't know what is going on there. Okay, so does this change your opinion on Saddiq Bey going to the Hawks?
I don't see this at all, because they're obviously not going to be playing Bey over Hunter because he's so important to their defense. At least I don't think. And AJ Griffin, I think, already is a better prospect than Saddiq Bey, and this potentially just puts a roadblock to his role. And I don't entirely understand that for them either. They could be giving Saddiq Bey Jalen Johnson's minutes. That wouldn't be surprising to me. And then maybe they're cutting back a little bit on what we're giving to AJ Griffin. But to me, that seems like a mistake. They hit on this draft pick with AJ Griffin. It was a great selection. They took a gamble because his medicals weren't great. But the kid has looked really good in flashes this year. He's so young. And this to me smacks of them really trying to improve this team in the short term, and in spite of what is the best thing for them in the long term, which is focusing on the development of AJ Griffin.
Saddiq Bey is a fake 3-and-D wing. He's a 3-and-D wing who can't defend and can't shoot, and thinks he's a guy that needs high usage in the ball in his hands, and he's shit at it. Like, he's no good. And he will sit here behind Hunter, behind Collins. Maybe Collins is on the way out. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I'm less inclined to drop Bey now, just in case someone like Collins or Bogdanovic is on the way out. Like on the Warriors, it would be a clear drop. I see someone in the chat saying, hey, do I drop Jalen Duren? Like, please do not do that. Like, absolutely do not drop Jalen Duren. What do you make of Wiseman, though, in Detroit? Because now obviously this ends the Marvin Bagley $40 million guaranteed nonsense of them. Hopefully, because they're both shithouse. I don't know which one's worth, Wiseman or Bagley, but hopefully this ends that stupidity of Troy Weaver making yet another mistake. Go to GM that makes mistakes all the time. What do you make of this for Duren, Stewart? Stewart, to me, wasn't a 12-team league guy anyway. He's clearly not now, because he won't get backup center minutes. He'll only play at the 4. But Bey is gone, so he'll still get... Nothing changes there. Does this... how? A little bit rephrase. Like, do you think Jalen Duren is a drop or not? Hopefully not.
No, and do not drop Jalen Duren. Please don't do that. But what the problem is this: Troy Weaver has been reportedly obsessed with James Wiseman for a while. And I think there is little doubt that he is going to try to give him every opportunity to develop and live up to the hype that he had coming into the 2020 NBA draft. I don't necessarily think that's going to work, and it's not a good environment for him to try to develop any kind of defensive feel, which he has none of right now. I am worried that this has to impede in some way Jalen Duren's development, but they can split the center minutes between the two of them. And completely agree that with Isaiah Stewart, the 3-point shooting has dipped. They're going to keep trying to put him out there at the 4 because of his defensive versatility and ability to be able to switch onto smaller players. That's fine. But it all feels like this is just kind of waiting until the next real pieces come into the Pistons core. They're going to have a big lottery pick that's going to be coming into the fold next year in a draft that is filled with wings. I think that's part of the reason that they're moving Saddiq Bey out, because they realized he was not going to be part of the long-term core. And it's likely, unless they net the number 1 or number 2 pick in this draft, that they're going to be picking a wing-sized player, because that's what the 2023 NBA draft brings.
Here's another trade, Matt, just breaking through that. Legendary lob threat Bruno Fernando and Garrison Matthews are getting traded to the Hawks in exchange for Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky, one of the biggest nothing trades I've ever seen.
The Hawks are definitely moving around pieces. I'm interested to see if there's another one for them, because I think there's a strong demand within within that ownership team to be able to improve. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they've got another move cooking.
Well, at least Garrison Matthews can shoot, and Fernando's a better third-string center than what Frank Kaminsky is. The Duran Wiseman thing's interesting. Like Duran, the last couple of games had already been sort of capped down to 28 minutes as they were forcing Stewart into playing time. I don't think they go a full split. I think Duran is younger than Wiseman. I think that getting Wiseman 19 to 20 minutes a night regularly is probably enough. It probably does limit Duran's overall ceiling upside in terms of not being a 31, 32-minute a night player, but I don't think it brings him down to a 24-minute a night guy or anything like that. But I guess we'll find out. There's just a lot happening here. I'm just going to update some graphics on this trade. Yeah, I don't really know what to... what do you think the Hawks can do now from here?
Well, I mean, there's been some discussion of moving on from Bogdan Bogdanovic. I think that's, obviously matching salary to something that they could do. They're limited in their options, obviously, because they've moved out a lot of their draft assets in the DeJounte Murray trade. But if I'm Atlanta, I need to be able to continue to try to form a functioning defense. And I would love to be able to see them. I don't know if they're going to be willing to take the chance on moving Clint Capella, but it's going to have to happen at some point.
Yeah, feels like an off-season thing to me.
I think that's probably right. But if you combine Bogdanovich and Capella together, maybe that's the idea, that they're going to be able to try to do that in the off season. Especially once they have another first-round pick available once the 2023 NBA draft comes around.
It's really, there's a lot of real interesting things going on here. Look, we haven't really touched on this. We'll touch on it now. Like Dario Saric going to the Thunder. Do you think that there's a chance that he starts there at center? Like, or he just be in that mix with Kenrich Williams and Pig Williams and Eugene Omoruyi and Aaron Wiggins? He's not going to start over Shea or Giddey or Jalen Williams, the Bronco, probably over Lou Dort, although Dort shouldn't start. But there's no chance he starts there. But he just probably moves into that 24-minute a night morass of rotating center options, I'm guessing, and that doesn't make him a 12-team ad.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, Dario has been slowly coming back from the ACL injury. I mean, he's looked okay at times, but I think we'll see him sparingly, like we see every single big in Oklahoma City. That rotation is not going to change anytime soon until Chet Holmgren comes back next year.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be rushing to add Saric. I wouldn't be rushing to add Baisley from the Suns' perspective. That Suns one is still really weird. Again, I go back to, like, do you think that TJ Warren is a 12-team flyer in Phoenix? Because I've seen Torrey Craig as a starter, right? It's not exciting. It's not interesting. He has moments which are okay and then moments which are not good. Would you take that chance on Warren, or that would be like, hey, let's wait until the dust settles and then we'll see what I've got and then maybe try it after that?
I mean, hypothetically, TJ Warren is the best player, even if he's not a particularly good defender. But I mean, I think Phoenix is going to be able to put up a pretty insane amount of points with that team. He's not a great fit with the other starters in Phoenix when you have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant all out there together. I don't see adding in TJ Warren as making a lot of sense. They're probably better off with a lower usage option who can at least give them something defensively to be able to, let those stars focus on getting buckets. So I'm not inclined to think that TJ Warren is going to end up coming out of this with big starters minutes. I think his role makes a lot of sense coming off of the bench and putting his funky offensive game out there to be able to get them some buckets against second units.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. Do you think the Hawks got better? I think they have to have, right? They get Saddiq Bey and they give out two players who weren't playing. Matthews and Fernando coming, but they get better. And that's it. Oh, the Warriors just announced a Steph Curry injury update. Let me just quickly read that. He'll be reevaluated after the All-Star break. Okay, so that tells us nothing. Thank you for telling me nothing. Thanks for wasting my time on this very, very busy day, Golden State. All right, so look, we got, so interesting the ways these second-round picks are getting handed out and the way that these fringe players are going to move into fringy sort of roles. Who do you think is going to get, this is a tough question to answer, Matt, but who do you think is going to get overvalued the most before we see them in their new environment?
Well, I think there's always some degree of hype around Cam Reddish because he's a high school basketball legend, and many people still believe that we're just waiting for him to be unlocked. Mm-hmm. So there will be hype around that. I think there's probably going to be a good amount of hype. gosh, it's difficult to even say. I don't know if people think Jakob Poeltl is going to suddenly, have improved a lot of improved value in Toronto. I don't see that personally, but it's someone that everyone's been waiting on the trade. Anytime we've been waiting on the trade for a player for a long time, I think there's a desire to believe, oh, this is going to be where this player really, goes to another level, or they have an even bigger role because the team wanted them. They wanted to trade for them. But more often than not, going to a new team usually hurts a player's value, at least initially, because they're having to get worked in with a group that they haven't normally played with a coach who maybe doesn't have as much confidence in them yet, and they have to be able to earn it. So I generally am more inclined to be looking for the players who are gaining value because of the things departing their team than the players who are changing over to new teams when it comes to fantasy, because there's going to be some vacuums created by the trade fallout today.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's the interesting thing, is that it's often what often happens at the deadline as well, Matt, is that more players lose value than players gain value. So like, oh, but this guy now is a drop, or this guy now is a drop. Like we might see Bey becoming a drop. We might see like guys like Cam Johnson becoming a drop in Brooklyn, like versus bunches of guys becoming ads based on situations. I do think that Poeltl gains quite a bit. Like he was only playing 26 minutes a night. I'm pretty confident he's going to play at least 28, 30, 34. I don't think he plays 34. It really hurts Boucher and Achua. I'd be very comfortable. Matt, I'd love to know your opinion on this. Very comfortable in dropping Precious Achua. I'd probably hold on Boucher because Boucher can play the 4, whereas Achua cannot. So if they do move on for Anunoby, and it appears like Memphis and Golden State are the front runners for OG Anunoby at the moment, which Golden State, I don't know what the hell to make of that. But I wouldn't be like, if OG moves, Achua can step into that. No, sorry, Boucher can step into that role, but I don't see how Precious does it all.
No, I can't see Achua and Poeltl playing together.
No way.
This is really disappointing, because we've seen the best version of Precious Achua in a lot of stretches over the last month. And I still think he's part of the Raptors' plan, but there's just no way to be able to make that work. They're going to end up probably splitting a lot of the center minutes because they can't work together.
He's not that good either.
He puts a huge cap.
He's 6'9". He's one of the most inefficient players in the NBA. He's like Saddiq Bey in a center's body, where he just tries to think, look at me, I can do all this stuff, and you can't. You just can't do it. And he's improved a bit this season, but to me, he is a clear worse player than Poeltl. And I don't even think they've got any chance of splitting the minutes, to be honest.
Well, and this is a shift in defensive philosophy, because when you have Precious Achua out there, you're going for the switchability that you have across that lineup with all of those big players that they have in the rotation, power forward size players with skill. Now you're going to be funneling players to Poeltl more, which I think Nick Nurse is comfortable with. And it shows a little bit of a change in how the Raptors are going to be playing down the stretch here.
The Rockets are getting 2 second-round picks in this trade as well from the Hawks as part of the Justin Holiday trade. Will Stephen Silas use Justin Holiday ahead of Tari Eason?
You know what? God bless Stephen Silas. I wish him the best, but if that man is still the head coach of this team after the Rockets end this season, after they likely have the worst record of the NBA for 3 years in a row, it has been an awful ride. And every time I click into Rockets Twitter, they are just waiting for that Woj bomb to drop that he has been let go as head coach.
It's not happening this season, but it is almost definitely happening after the season. Eric Gordon to the Clippers.
Oh, there we go. A return. Yeah, that's interesting.
Another return.
God, when you think about what is Ballmer paying in luxury tax as they keep stacking on this is crazy, because adding in that money, I guess we'll see what's going back out. There's going to have to be, because the tax bill is going to be outrageous.
People are going to immediately see this, Matt, and go grab Tari Eason, and I am less than confident in that. I don't know. Well, I think they play Justin Holiday over him. I think they will, because they don't play him as a 3. Now, I've got no problem with having Tari Eason, but I'd just be expecting disappointment. KJ Martin's the clear out here.
If Stephen Silas had his way, yes, they would not play Tari Eason. I do have to wonder at a certain point when the front office just says, "Look, you have to do it," and I think we've seen that exasperation from Silas lately. He clearly doesn't. This team does not listen to him, and Tari Eason has had a reputation for maybe not listening to coaching, especially. So that might be part of him being in the doghouse with Stephen Silas. But I have to wonder if they eventually do it. But I don't have confidence in it, because Silas is still ultimately running the rotation. Yeah,
you shouldn't have. Look, it's no problem to do it. In 20 minutes, he's sort of a back-end 12-team league guy, probably more a 14-team league guy anyway. which is fine to have, but this doesn't mean 30 minutes for Tari Eason coming. It's KJ Martin clearly getting 30 minutes, so he's a clear must-roster guy, KJ Martin. He already was. I saw someone in the chat say, hey, the biggest winner to add is Jalen Williams from the Bronco from OKC. Like, that was 8 weeks ago. Like, he's obviously a clear add, and if he's still somehow available in your on your league, just go and add him immediately. But this Eric Gordon thing, obviously, there's no 12-team value in Eric Gordon, and apparently it's a multi-team deal. So we're waiting to see exactly what happens here. But if KJ Martin is available, he almost strikes me as the biggest winner so far, unless I'm missing somebody. If he feels like one of the biggest winners so far here, KJ Martin.
Yeah, I love KJ Martin. And if we're making the Alperen Şengün, Nikola Jokic comparisons, it's been fun to watch KJ Martin and Alperen Şengün because despite just being 6'7", Martin is shooting 71% at the rim this year. I mean, like, that guy can finish over anybody. So explosive, great verticality. And I'm really excited to see more minutes from him because I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be at least a big minute rotation player across a long prime. It's somebody in Dynasty that I don't think people have caught on to necessarily, or maybe they don't necessarily believe in because he's on such a bad team, but I think he's a good player on a bad team. I really like KJ Martin.
John Wall is going. So the third team is the Grizzlies. The Rockets are getting John Wall. What is with these reuniting situations? All right, John Wall's going to the Rockets. Luke Kennard is going to the Grizzlies. All right, so John, what is... All right, don't add John Wall. I know people will be tempted to add John Wall. Don't add John Wall. I'm just going to create this graphic here, put it up, and we'll update it when more stuff comes through, just so people know what we're actually talking with so far. But yeah, what is with all the reuniting situations? It's pretty wild. Let's bring that in. So Rockets get John Wall, Clippers get Eric Gordon, Grizzlies get Luke Kennard is what we know so far. We'll update that when we find out more. But... I'm seeing all the questions coming. Man, does Eric Gordon mean Tari Eason is stepping up? This is going to be the number one question. By all means, add Tari Eason. But, Matt, as we've said, the skepticism is there because every time Eric Gordon has missed, it has meant absolutely nothing for Tari Eason. It doesn't change his role or his minutes at all. So, all right, John Wall moves to Houston to be... The interesting thing here with Wall, though, is that Kevin Porter's injured. All right. So now, maybe I was too quick to write that off because Wall's been terrible in the Clippers. He's been bad. But if they were to play him 29 minutes a night while Porter's out, that would be useful. But is he going to play? Are they going to buy him out? He obviously hated Houston. We heard him talk about how much he hated it there. Is he going to play? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that the guy a few weeks ago who went on a podcast saying that he can't believe the things that Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. are allowed to do out there.
There's no
how
way.
Much of a trash organization. They're going to buy him out for the second time in less than a year. That's the way that this is headed. And Wall will get to go wherever Wall wants to go, but he's been a bad player this year.
Danny Green to the Rockets. Wow. So there you go. There's the Tari Eason. They got Justin Holiday and Danny Green to take Tari Eason's minutes. I don't know what these. Danny Green's an expiring contract. He's a really good player, but why?
Well, I at least like that the Bruno Fernando club has been taken out of Steven Silas's bag. So that's important, for all of us who love Alperen Şengün. At the very least, we're not going to get a redux of that situation again, but we'll see. I think that they're giving him all new toys to play with to be able to put impediments in front of their top prospects. So he'll get creative with it, I'm sure. Yeah,
well, that's okay. So all of these players, Johnny Wall, Danny Green, Eric Gordon, all older players. You got Luke Kennard going there. Luke Kennard to the Grizzlies is not a 12-team league player. He fits into like John Konchar's 18-minute bench role. Maybe he takes Dylan Brooks' role. That would be bloody good, but doesn't probably not. Eric Gordon moves into some role there. That'll be like 22 minutes, 23 minutes. Further hampering. Who was the other guy that went to the Clippers before that we were talking about? Oh, Bones Hyland. So Eric Gordon and Bones Hyland on that bench. Another reason why Bones is not going to be a 12-team league player. Danny Green, John Wall, forget John Wall, he's not playing for the Rockets. Danny Green and Justin Holiday, they're replacing Eric Gordon. KJ Martin's still the clear winner here. But what they do, like Green is going to play some minutes. I wonder what they do here. If Porter's not ready, they don't play Wall. Who? Maybe they will be forced to start Tari Eason now because they just until Porter returns. Because who else would start? Oh no, they'll start old mate Dacian Nix, won't they? That's what they'll do.
And with Danny Green, I mean, yeah, he could play, but I would wonder too, if he's at this stage of his career after coming back from a serious injury, does he really want to finish out what could potentially be his last season in the NBA on a roster going nowhere, or do they work out a buyout for him as well? Because you would think, at least in a minimum contract scenario, there's a lot of NBA teams who would be willing to bring Danny Green in, and I'm sure he'll have interest on that front. So that wouldn't surprise me at all.
John Wall planning to be waived. Yeah, no surprise there at all. From what that's not a surprise. I saw someone with a rant. Who is the Clippers starting point guard now? I believe it's still just going to be Terrence Mann. I don't really. John Wall wasn't their starting point guard. He wasn't even playing. He was injured. So I think it's Terrence Mann, but maybe Eric Gordon gets some minutes there. It's just going to be it's just the same nonsense that's going to continue with this team. Shams is saying a Western Conference contender is emerging as a suitor for Anunoby. That's the Warriors. We'll see how that ends up going. All right, these are. Someone said this is a nice lateral move for the Clippers. Yeah. Probably Gordon's a better player than what John Wall's been this season. Bones is probably equivalent to Luke Kennard. So yeah, maybe it is lateral. Maybe it is. There's just a lot of confusing situations going on here. So we've got almost 30 minutes until the deadline hits. Oh, here we go. The Clippers are what? Shams, my guy, fix that up. He said the Clippers are trading Patrick Beverley. They're not. The Lakers are trading Patrick Beverley for Mo Bamba. He deleted it and redid it. Patrick Beverley for Mo Bamba. All right, to the Lakers. People are going to say, oh, do we go add Mo Bamba? You absolutely do not. But what this further does is, where does that leave these minutes that have opened up for Jared Vanderbilt?
So this is a little bit interesting because Bamba has a non-guaranteed contract for next year. So it gives the Lakers a little bit of flexibility to be able to just move off of him entirely if they want to be able to open up cap space in the offseason, since they can operate as a cap space team. In some scenarios, I think the issue there is, there's no real path for him to play meaningfully. So no, don't go add Mo Bamba. And Patrick Beverley has obviously struggled quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he's either not playing at all in Orlando, or if that's another potential situation where they flip him before the deadline ends, if there's actually any interest in Patrick Beverley out there at this point.
So Beverley, look, there's Gary Harris, there's Markel Fultz, there's Jalen Suggs, there's Cole Anthony. I don't think that Patrick Beverley stays on this team. I don't know why he would remain on this team. We'll bring that little screen across there. But what people will now do based on this, Matt, is I go, well, does this open up all the minutes for Bol? And the answer to that is no, because Bumba wasn't playing. He wasn't part of the rotation. So Bol can get all of Bumba's 0 minutes really here, because it was Carter and Wagner as the 1 and the 2, and Bol was playing more at the 4. And literally Bumba played 0 minutes a night most nights. He wasn't really that part of the rotation. So this, to me, maybe you have a differing opinion, this doesn't increase stuff for Bol at all, really.
No, I don't think so. And I think, unfortunately, what we've seen is the limitations of where Bol is at this point. I mean, even the Magic are finding him to be too destructive defensively to be able to play significant minutes. And the offense, the ability to be able to take and go in transition, his ability to be able to, at least defensively, block a three-pointer at a higher rate than anyone else in the NBA. I mean, he's impressive in some aspects.
Oh, yeah. The stuff he does is crazy.
He just can't move well enough. And, if you're not going to be able to move well enough to be able to play for the Orlando Magic at this stage of their development and rebuild, I don't know how it's going to happen. I wrote him off too soon before, and I still think we could have a reemergence with Bol because he is so talented in so many respects, but I don't see it happening this season.
Apparently the Lakers are sending second-round picks to the Magic in this deal for Bumba/Beverley. So the Lakers front court becomes really interesting. So does Bumba probably does play, but again, this does hurt Jared Vanderbilt, doesn't it? Because that limits Vanderbilt's minutes playing at the 5, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I have to imagine that they give Bamba at least some kind of rotation role. He's not. He's not a positive player at this stage. I mean, the 3-point shooting is a little bit fake. And defensively, he's just too slow-footed. He can recover, to be able to block shots because of his length. But I could see them trying it out and ultimately finding that it's just not worth the trouble, especially come playoff time.
Yeah. Look, he's one of those guys, much like Bol, in that he puts up these interesting numbers, but on court he's just not good, and he's never had a positive impact on court, Mo Bamba. And again, people look at the numbers. I saw someone arguing with a Celtics reporter saying that Mo Bamba's statistically been the Magic's best player this season. I said, bro, I know what statistics you're looking at, but not the ones that are relevant in our world, because he's bad. Like, he's just not good, but he can shoot and he can block shots, and then he struggles so much in so many different ways. The Grizzlies sending Danny Green and 3 second-round picks to the Clippers. So we've got second-round picks. There's probably going to be 50 second-round picks traded, I reckon, in today's deadline, if not more. How many do you reckon we're at so far? About 30, it's got to be.
Second round picks have won the NBA trade deadline. They're having a huge week.
They're everywhere. There's a lot of people here saying, "Hey man, when's Plumlee getting traded?" I told you guys, don't expect it. We hope for it, but don't expect it. Don't expect any of these trades. Like, don't expect stuff to happen, and you won't be disappointed. Like, like I said, I love stashing Mark Williams, but there's still a 10% chance that Plumlee gets traded. Like, that's not a high likelihood of that. Just recapping some things here. Bones Hyland, I don't think is a 12-team league guy anymore, so that stash I don't think makes any sense. That was probably one of the most popular stashes. Like, some of the most... What do you think the most popular stashes were? To me, it was Collins, Williams, Eason, and probably Hyland. And I had KJ Martin in my stash as well. So Zach Collins worked out, KJ Martin worked out. Mark Williams still up in the air. I think the Bones one didn't work out. And what was the other? The Eason one. Not sure. This one might work in the short term with the injury to Kevin Porter, because they just need other guys in there, but I'm not convinced on that one yet.
Josh Richardson heading to, let's see what it is.
Oh, where's this one? Oh, here we go, to Pelicans.
Yes.
Well, that kills his value.
Yeah, there's nothing good about that for Josh Richardson. I mean, it makes sense as an addition for the Pelicans.
Malachi Branham,
because it gives them another nice wing.
Malachi Branham, that does help him quite a bit. So he was sort of he's going to be inconsistent. There's still the Jones, Sohan, Langford situation, but this gives him, instead of a base 22 minutes for Branham, it probably gives him a base 25, 26 minutes. That's probably enough to make him someone to have in a 12-team league, even though I think in 3 weeks' time he'll be like, I can't deal with this bloke's inconsistency, and I'll end up dropping him. That's how I sort of see that with Branham at this point. How do you view him as a short-term and a long-term piece?
Long term, I really like Malachi Branham, because he kind of fits in. I think the game, he said that he's modeled his game against Chris Middleton, Karis LeVert. There's a little bit of Jamal Murray there, where he's not like a heavy on ball, playmaking guard. He's a little bit more of an off ball guard.
Devontae Graham,
but with some ability on ball.
Devontae Graham's going back. I'm just going to update that. And Beverly's not likely to play for Orlando at all. So that's what we touched on as well. So, yeah, sorry, keep going back to Branham as I just update this.
Yeah, I think they should, given how young he is and how much potential he's shown in the last couple of weeks. Malachi Branham should have a prominent role on the Spurs down the stretch here. He's someone that I would be looking at to add to the back end of benches at this point with Richardson out, because it seems like that'll allow him to be able to maintain the role that he's had in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so Richardson going to the Pelicans, like, he would just sort of slot in behind Herb Jones and in that mix with Trey Murphy and Najee Marshall. So really, he's a drop. Devontae Graham goes back to San Antonio. He's one to watch. If Trey Jones is actually hurt, Graham's not a very good player, but he can put up okay numbers in a punt field goal situation. I wouldn't grab him, but I would definitely pay attention to it. Yeah, John Wall expected to be waived. We knew that one. 4 second-round picks going as well, along with Devontae Graham. So there you go. What second-round picks, man?
Second-round picks.
Oh, the biggest goat of this trade deadline. So if you've got an opportunity to add second-round picks in your fantasy league, I reckon that's probably going to be the move, because they're everywhere.
I have to say, when you look at what the Pelicans have done in the last few years, there's a lot of hits. And then there's things like giving Devontae Graham that gigantic contract. Now, it ends up, they just continue to be able to keep succeeding because they have so many assets that they get to cover up mistakes like this. But it's fascinating to be able to watch them be able to get off of this Devontae Graham contract that quickly after giving it to him and almost immediately looking like one of the worst contracts in the NBA.
Yeah, so they did get off him. There's only the cost of 4 second-round picks. I'd be watching that one. I'd be watching the Devontae Graham situation just to see what happens. He could become an ad, but I wouldn't rush to prioritize it. Oh, Kevin Knox is going to the Warriors as part of the Wiseman deal. So we're just sending busts back and forth here. So Kevin Knox goes to the Warriors. He's not going to play. He's also really bad. One of the all-time Summer League cock teasers, Kevin Knox. When people fired up about that in Summer League, Matt, we're going to get you out of here soon because I do have Zach coming in the back door. That didn't sound great. We'll get him set up. Any final thoughts on things before I just do my background producing stuff?
I am really excited to see where OG Anunoby is going to go. I think he will be on the move. The market is frothing right now from everything that we're hearing. It's probably going to be a pretty large return, especially if the Warriors are involved. I'm going to be thinking about that one. But thanks for having me on, Josh. I've really enjoyed it. And let's finish out this trade deadline strong.
Go follow Matt, NBA Dynasty ADP on Twitter. Hit a thumbs up to give Matt, say that you liked him being on here. Thumbs up the video. That'd be great, Matt. Thank you again.
All right. Take care, Josh.
All right, I'm just going to get stuff sorted out here in the background as we get Zach ready to come on and give us a chat for 20 minutes or so. Just give me 1 second as I sort this stuff out. This is the perils of trying to do stuff on the back end here by yourself. Let's see. Zach is here. Zach Hanshu is here. Zach, welcome to the show. I'm going to bring you in 1 second. Here he is, the big fella. Zach, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, brother? I was, it's deja vu. I was just watching you on your live stream.
Well, and now you're a part of it. It's like the Matrix.
Now I'm here.
All right, so while we wait for the next trade to go down, do you have any takeaways from the things that have happened recently? Like the most recent players we've had moved, we've got Eric Gordon, Luke Kennard, John Wall, Danny Green, Beverly, Bumba, Joshie Richardson, Devontae Graham. Any thoughts on any of those recent trades?
Rob Pelinka is fighting for a job right now, and I think he has secured a long-term deal, man. I mean, Jesus, they have given up nothing and gotten just infinitely better over the last couple of days. It's insanity.
Yeah, it's very confusing how they were able to get as much depth as they were. Like, I've shit on Rob Pelinka a lot, but he's been awesome so far in this. I think he's been a real winner here in these trades, and the Lakers have definitely gotten better. What do you make? I think this is probably the big question. What do you make of the front court now? Bumba comes in, Vanderbilt comes in. Yeah, Bryant is out. Obviously, I didn't think Bryant was even going to be a part of the rotation. Now I don't really know what to make of Vanderbilt. Do you look at him as 22 minutes, 27 minutes? Is he starting at power forward? Because he's not going to. If they're going to play Bumba, then he can't play backup center minutes. So where does Jared Vanderbilt fit in all this?
I'll be honest with you, man. I feel like we're kind of going back to what we usually do with the Lakers, where they just kind of have this muddled up front court situation where they just have these bigs that eat into each other's minutes, and nobody is, that super reliable guy every night that you can depend on 25 minutes. So I feel like we need to see the rotation first. I mean, they got Vandy, they got Bamba, they got, obviously, like you said, Bryant's gone, but AD is there, Rui is there.
Yeah, Rui.
Very confusing situation, yeah.
If anyone here is watching and's got Rui in a category league, I don't know why you do, but please get rid of him. There's absolutely no way that he is getting 12. He's the 210th best player so far this season. You do not need to roster him. Who do you think so far would be the biggest winner? Because, Zach, we often have very different opinions on fantasy, so I'm really interested to hear what you think is so far. It's off the top of your head, but who do you think is the biggest winner so far?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, man. I heard you going back and forth with Matt a little bit on this one, but I've been really big on Malachi Branham here recently. I'm very excited with Josh Richardson out the door. I think the trade that didn't happen, Gary Trent Jr. did not get traded to San Antonio. So I think Branham's role moving forward, I think, is going to be pretty secure. I mean, obviously we can look at, the Spurs when guys get healthy. But Branham has some skills, I think, that really kind of transfer over well from college. Very efficient shooter in college. He's on a team that is clearly doing the best job it can to tank and lose as many games as possible. I think he's going to see significant run down the stretch. So Branham is a big one for me. Cam Thomas is a big one for me. KJ Martin and Tari Eason, I think, are going to see a significant run moving forward.
Talk me through the Eason one, because I am very skeptical on that. I agree. I think KJ Martin's the biggest winner. Maybe it's Cam Thomas. That rotation still is very confusing to me in terms of how, because there's like 5 guys coming in that we don't know where they fit, and until we figure that out, there's no clear winner there. To me, it's KJ Martin, who should have been added already. He just steps in, plays 32 minutes a night, and rolls. Like, that's good. He is clear to me. Explain to me your thoughts on the Eason situation, because I'm not convinced that it benefits him.
I'm a little skeptical on it too. I'm not going to sit up here and beat my chest and die on the hill of Tari Eason. I love Tari Eason. I love his upside, especially with the two-way stats that he can provide to you for fantasy. I think there's an opportunity now that Gordon is gone. Obviously, they brought some guys back in. But with Gordon gone, I think there's at least an opportunity for him to see some more consistent minutes. Whether or not that happens, we'll have to wait and see. But I think the upside and at least the path for minutes is a little bit better, I think, than it was yesterday.
I agree that the path for minutes are there, but the idiocy of their rotation of him never playing next to Smith and Şengün and playing only as a power forward really limits that. And Eric Gordon's been playing basically as a point guard / shooting guard a lot of this time, and that doesn't look, as much as we look at him as being Eric Gordon is a starting small forward. He was basically been their point guard of late, and then Tate and Martin, and now they've added Justin Holiday into the mix and Danny Green into the mix, who also can play the three. I don't know what they do with those guys. Or I know John Wall's not going to be there. They're going to waive him, but just adding Green and Holiday in as extra reliable veterans on that team to play minutes at the exact position that Eric Gordon was playing makes me go, they're still going to keep Eason in a small role, aren't they? They're still going to keep him there in that 21, 20. We'd love him. If he gets 25, like he smashes it, right? But if he plays 21, it's like, it's not quite enough. Is it there? Is it 22? Like, it's still very much on the borderline. Someone in the chat said Colin Sexton's a big winner. Yeah, he is a pretty big winner from this as well. Zach Collins is a pretty big winner as well from this situation. What do you think Zach Collins is a must-add?
To me, I don't know if he's a must-add. I don't think I'm excited about him. I think it's just kind of like default, like, oh, they traded Pirtle, so now his backup is going to instantly be better. We saw a couple of good games from Collins earlier this season, but I mean, I think I remember writing it up for NBC when I was covering some games that he had like a 19-12 game. And I remember writing and looking it up. Wow, this was the best game of his entire career, 19-12. Like, that's not a very high bar. I mean, especially that was your chance as a starter, and that's the best you can do. And we're just lauding you and just going crazy over a 19-12 game. And don't forget, they added a couple of depth pieces at center as well. I'm not gonna say Keem Birch is gonna come in there and put up 30 minutes, but they did add him and Dedmon. It's not like they just got rid of Pirtle and nobody else came in. So I'm skeptical of Collins. He's worth adding, but there's other guys with more upside, in my opinion.
I'm not as skeptical of him. I think that I think they're pretty committed to him to be there, to at least try to be their starting center of the future. Birch is nothing. Dedmon's nothing. Bassey's interesting, but I would still add Collins there. I am interested in seeing that. And I knew this would happen. I just spoke to Matt about this. I just saw someone in the chat say, hey, is Bol the biggest winner? Mo Bamba played 0 minutes for the Magic. He was not a part of the rotation, so Bol will get all of Bamba's minutes. 0. It's still Carter as the starting center. It's Wagner as the backup center. Bol gets his 14 minutes some nights, 19 minutes some nights. You could say maybe he's a marginal winner because at sometimes they go, oh, we're struggling, we'll throw Bumba in here for 5 or 6 minutes, and now they don't have that option to do that. So those minutes could go to Bol, but that's not a regular thing, and he's very clearly not the biggest winner of this day. I don't think there's any real change there at all. And we'll see, there's still much more stuff going on with plenty of these teams. Terry Taylor just got waived for any Red Rooster fans out there. He's been waived by the Pacers, but yeah, this is not a situation where Bol is his gigantic winner, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if we're just talking about guys that are winners on this day, I think if we're kind of looking on the peripherals here, maybe not in 12-team leagues, but maybe in deeper leagues, I'm curious about Talen Horton-Tucker, and I'm curious about Jalen Noel. I think, 30 points, we're not going to chase that 30-point night every time he's out there, but I think there's some clear upside if he can see minutes.
I don't think there is. He can score, but he's also been horrible for the entirety of this season. And basically, to me, Russell goes out, Conley comes in. Like that's how it changes. And Noel will have opportunities, but he's had 20-minute opportunities all season, and he'll probably still get 21, 22 minutes a night. But there's no way he's doing what he did yesterday. To me, yesterday's game, like the two best waiver wire performers yesterday were Taurean Prince and Jalen Noel, because the Wolves had everyone out. And that should be a big indication. So from what they played yesterday, Kyle Anderson will play, Rudy Gobert will come back, Mike Conley will play, Nickeil Alexander-Walker will be on the team, whether he plays or not, I don't know. And then Towns returns. So that's some pretty big pieces that are going to come back. So I wouldn't burn any ad on Jalen Noel outside of after the deadline. If I got one left, I stream him if Conley's not ready to go straight away. But he's had plenty of opportunities. He can get really hot. He is really cold, but there is no clear-cut starting role there for Jalen Noel in my mind.
Fair enough, man. I'm interested in him, though. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
regardless.
Look, he's been someone that for the last 2 years or so, I've said, let's watch this guy. There's a little bit of something here. Let's see if he can work into a role. He's disappointed most of this season. I think that's fair to say. I think he was shooting some horrible numbers at one point. But look, he's got some talent, but he can be a little bit of an out of control gunner at times. So that's something that he probably needs to reel in. What do you think of this Devontae Graham thing going to San Antonio? Trey Jones is dealing with a foot issue. Graham's bad, but he's a point guard, and they actually have no point guards on this roster. Like Branham's been running point, Richardson's been running point. They are not point guards. Graham is. He can pass. He can shoot from deep. The worst 2-point shooter of all time, but he can shoot from deep. I'm watching him pretty closely.
I absolutely watching him closely. Remember his second year with Charlotte, he absolutely erupted. Nobody
better than
saw
Terry
that
Rozier.
coming. Yeah, oh, he was incredible that year. So yeah, absolutely, he's a guy worth watching. And with the Spurs, he fits their timeline, right? I mean, he's still a fairly youngish
24,
guy.
24, 25.
Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely. Maybe they'll give him some run here down the stretch. I'm very interested to see what he can do.
Especially with Jones out as well.
Yeah.
Branham becomes like a maybe ad. I think still a lot of Branham stuff is dependent on Jones, Sohan, and also Romeo Langford, who they still sort of like as well. It could just be like a 24 Langford, 25 Branham, 26 Graham, 28 Jones, complete mess where you go, oh, some nights one's good, some nights the other's good. And I said this the other day, like talking about Aaron Neesmith on my show, Zach, saying that like you get like these strings of like 2-3 good games, and then you go, well, he's had 2 games in a row and they'll add him. And then he has 2-3 absolute stinkers and you go, oh, I'll wait for him to be good, then you drop him. And then as soon as you drop him, he goes and has the good games again, meaning overall you're trying to find when the good games are going to come. You beat yourself up over it. You never hit the right moment and it's just a waste of time. And I think that might end up being the case with Branham and with Graham. To consistently get solid numbers feels like it might be a challenge. I've got no problem. I think Brams is worth an ad in a lot of spots, but I feel like it's going to be one of the, hey, Mason Plumlee's getting traded. Let's go. Yes.
All right.
It happened.
Oh, hi, Mark.
All right. Obviously, Mark Williams is the biggest winner here. If everyone go and add him. Nick Richards is also an ad, especially in 14-team leagues. I think it'll be like a 26, 22-minute split. And Nick Richards is an ad. Mark Williams is the biggest ad there. Plumlee going to the Clippers. He's a drop. Real clear drop. Easy drop to me. Wow. It happened. I can't believe it. Jesus is good. Allah's good. Buddha's good. Everyone's good. It happened. We're all good. Zach. Oh, yes. Let's go. All right. Immediate thoughts on that. We all know about Mark Williams. All right. I've been stashing him, telling people that for ages. What do you think about Nick Richards here?
Naughty Nicky, man. He was great at the beginning of the year. He put up some solid numbers when he was playing, the number 2 center role. So honestly, I think there's a chance that both of them could be viable. I mean, let's just say
I agree.
Let's say Mark Williams gets, 22 minutes a night, 23, 24 minutes a night, and Nicky gets 18 to 21. I mean, is it unreasonable to think that they could both average, 10 points, 10 rebounds, maybe a block?
No, I think that it is possibly worth adding Nick Richards. Mark Williams is the priority, but I think, look, that with Jalen McDaniels going, I don't think they want to play PJ Washington a ton at center, so I think it's going to be like 24-24. Maybe it's like 24-23 with 1 minute of PJ Washington at center. They haven't really played much small ball under Steve Clifford, so I think you're going to get like minimum 24-24 sort of split here. It's just good that it's happened, man. Here, I feel like my life's fulfilled now that that the cockroach is gone. I don't know who's coming back, so I'm going to leave that Hornets section blank there. Imagine they get Zubats back. Reggie Jackson, they get back. All right, cool. So they're waiving him for sure. Don't add Reggie Jackson.
Josh, I got to ask you, man, what are the Golden State Warriors doing here? Because the Clippers have loaded up, the Lakers have loaded up, the Suns have loaded up, and they're just kind of hoping that Klay hits 12 threes a night. I mean, what are they doing?
No, they're trying to get Anunoby is what they're trying to do. That's what they're working on at the moment. So
you think it happens?
I don't think it happens, but that's what they're trying to do. So Reggie Jackson. So let's try and work out these Hornets. Like, obviously, Ball and Rozier are there. Reggie Jackson, they don't have a backup point guard, so maybe they keep him around because they don't have one. We're obviously not adding Reggie Jackson in 12 or 14 team leagues. I'm just trying to figure out what the rest of who does that impact. Obviously, Plumlee's gone, but who was getting those guard? Bryce McGowan occasionally, but he wasn't playing every night. He just probably takes Jalen McDaniels' role, to be honest, that 20-minute a night role. Then Oubre comes back and gets into that situation as well. So maybe they keep Reggie Jackson around to be a backup there, but he's obviously not playing ahead of Ball or Rozier. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, that's obviously Mark Williams the big winner here. Real clear winner. Feel pretty good about that. Feel pretty good about that. And I think Richards is worth an ad. That's very interesting. It happened. I can't believe it happened. So my 3 stashes that I had 4 that I really liked. One was Isaiah Jackson that got killed, and then the other were Zach Collins, Mark Williams, and KJ Martin. They all hit. I'm pretty happy with them all hitting. That's good. All right. Now, if you haven't added Mark Williams, go do it. Nick Richards is an option. KJ Martin's a good option. There are a few really solid options here. Plumlee, if we feel good about saying he's a drop, yeah?
Yeah, he's a drop. Better move for real life hoops. Good depth piece, but yeah, not going to see enough minutes with Zubats.
Yep. He's does it turn Zubats into a drop, do you think? Because Plumlee has played okay this season.
Yeah, I think it probably turns him into a drop. It's not like an immediate drop. I mean, if you're desperate, sure, he can be cut, but it's a situation to me where give it a game or two and maybe see kind of what the rotation shakes out into. But Zubats has been on the downward trend for a little while now.
He has.
So if you add a guy in there that can, and Plumlee gives you a little bit something extra because he's such a good passer. So I think they'll probably get him 15 minutes minimum a night, I would say.
I'd say he gets 20. I'd say he gets probably 20 minutes and 27 minutes or so for Zubats. I think it drops Zubats' ceiling down. What I think is interesting, though, is that both John Wall and Reggie Jackson are gone. So Bones Hyland is going to have that opportunity with Terrence Mann there and Eric Gordon. They'll sort of all handle, and Norman Powell. All those guys will get minutes. So Bones gets a 20-minute a night role, pretty much minimum. Zach, I do think a lot of people stashing Bones for the deadline. I don't think that that's worked out. How do you... Patrick Beverley looks like he's going to Minnesota.
Boy, man.
We'll see.
Everybody is going home today.
A Patrick Beverley reunion is in the works via the buyout, but multiple teams are interested. So obviously we're not adding him, but that's... everyone is going to their old teams. It's pretty crazy. So Bones... What do you think of the Bones stash situation, 12-team value there? Because I know you got to get out of here soon. Go.
Yeah, I got about 10 minutes. I love Bones. I think he's got a tremendous ceiling, but like you said, he's been added to a team that, you have Kawhi Leonard, you have Paul George, you have Terrence Mann, you have Norm Powell, you have a bunch of these guys that are going to want the ball and they're going to be scoring a lot, and that's his bread and butter is scoring. He is a good passer. So I think there's potentially room out there for him to see some extra minutes. He's a great he's an excellent 3-point shooter. I mean, would you say arguably he's now the best 3-point shooter on the Clippers?
Well, with Kennard, it depends. Kawhi's had 39-point seasons before, and so 39% season. So is Paul George. Kennard was clearly their best. Norman Powell's actually 40%. Actually, it's a few pretty good 3-point shooters there, to be honest. So he'd be up there. Like he's up there, but like Powell, Kawhi, Paul George, I think are still probably better. Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon also has some. Eric Gordon's a good 3-point shooter because he takes them from a mile out as well.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't think the Bones stash worked out quite too well. It's going to be similar to what he had in Denver.
Mm-hmm. I'd say that's probably right, except maybe worse because the guard depth or their wing depth is a little bit more solid. So that's interesting. That those deals went through there. Just trying to get my head around just some other stuff that's happening here. There's going to be some really interesting things open up over the next 3 days in terms of streaming options with so many players moving. Like how many players we had moved already? Like 25 at least, probably more. Yeah, and about 100 second-round picks.
Man, Josh, I got to ask you, man, what's your opinion in Phoenix? Because I've seen so many of these arguments back and forth.
I don't know.
I'm making a case for Josh Okogie. I really like him, just based on what he's done this year. I know he's been kind of hit or miss, but it seems like he's really been good on defense. He's really been good, hitting the glass. So I'm curious. I mean, who do you like out there? Do you think Warren immediately kind of assimilates back in? Do you like Torrey Craig just because he's safe? I mean, do you like nobody? And just
I like nobody, really. Honestly, they're just a bunch of nothing, really. Okogie can be okay, but in the past he's been one of the worst per minute fantasy producers ever. Like he's in that sort of like, I can't even think of the player I'm trying to think of, but he's been horrible. He's had some good moments this season for sure, but you've got a mix of Ish Wainwright, who they actually do like, Baisley, maybe they play Darius Baisley some minutes, I don't know. There's Torrey Craig, there's Damian Lee, there's TJ Warren. You still have to figure out where Landry Shamet fits in this rotation if he ever returns as well. Like that's 20 odd minutes there. So Craig is probably, you're right, the safe one. Warren's the guy with with a proven track record, but I don't think his body can handle it. If I had to add anyone, it'd probably be Warren. But to me, like, Okogie's probably like a 14, maybe 16 team league guy. And I think there's just so many weird options there with Damian Lee, Ish Wainwright, Darius Baisley. Landale's played the 4 a little bit as well. It's a weird situation, and I wouldn't prioritize adding any of those Phoenix guys in 12 team leagues, I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough. There's a lot of moving pieces there, man. This is, I don't know. I feel like Phoenix is just about as confusing as Brooklyn is right now.
Oh, mate,
I'm shocked that we haven't seen any more deals from them.
I am shocked too. Apart from John Collins will remain on the Hawks. There you go. Of course he will. Oh, of course he will. All right, so that's not a surprise. Like, we knew that this would be what they would do most likely. I'm just looking to see if anything else is going on here. We have got 12 minutes to go before the deadline actually hits, and then sometimes we get some trades trickle through. The one we're waiting on probably here, Zach, unless there's something else. It's the Raptors and Anunoby, because their team makes no sense now. They traded out nobody like that was playing and got another center in, and their bench was all full of centers anyway. So there's still who goes to the bench? Does Anunoby go to the bench if he's not traded? Does Gary Trent go to the bench? Their rotation is very weird. Like there's still, it has to be something coming. Whether it's Trent, Anunoby, Van Vliet, I don't know, but there is something coming from Toronto still.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, you're not going to get nearly as high a return on Trent as you would for Anunoby. So and Anunoby would be. There was a report that came out earlier from Shams, and I didn't read too far into it, but he said there's a Western Conference team looking into acquiring Anunoby.
Yeah, it was the Warriors.
Was that Golden State? Okay.
Yeah, it was Golden State. Initially, it was Golden State and Memphis, and yeah, it's not Memphis anymore because they were part of this 3-team deal. So it's Golden State who looks to be that front, which is wild. I don't know where he fits. What's he? Andrew Wiggins is back up. Does he, like, obviously that would kill DiVincenzo if Anunoby went there. Like there'd be no value coming in there. Some very weird stuff. We're still waiting to see if more things happen. Zach, you've got a show coming up later after this on NBC Sports Edge. Do you want to give that a quick plug?
Yeah, appreciate it, man. 5 o'clock today on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. I'll be joined by Adam King, who was on your show earlier today.
No, he's coming now, King. He's after you.
Oh, he's coming next. Oh, okay.
He's in the green room. No, that was Matt Lawson's on first, and then we've got King. He's in the green room ready to come in to talk about us from 7 onwards.
Oh, man. Okay. So, yeah, Adam King will be on at 5 o'clock.
Gary Payton going to the Warriors.
Oh, is that going back to the... Everybody's going home, man.
I don't know what's happening. Why is every player going back to their former team? Gary Payton going to the Warriors for 5 second-round picks. What is fucking going on this trade deadline? What is happening? Oh, my God.
Well, you need to get you a little graphic right there that says Jay Crowder 5 picks.
It's actually
Saddiq
crazy.
Bey, James Wiseman 5 picks, Gary Payton 5 picks. All these guys that are worth 5 picks, apparently.
Oh, so quickly, just with this... Oh, yeah, you've got a couple minutes before you go?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think now with the Blazers, now that Payton's out of that mix? So you got Sharp, Reddish, Little... who's the guy they got today? Thibault. Who do you think's a 12-team pickup there, if anybody?
Probably not anybody, but if I had to stake a claim on it, it would be Reddish, just because we've seen him. The beginning of the year, he was pretty good for New York.
Yeah, we've seen few good moments.
Yeah, we've seen him succeed, in the past for Atlanta in spurts. But Thibault has always just been a steals and blocks streamer. He's kind of gives you those out of position stats for a guard. And Shaedon Sharpe to me is just a inefficient volume scorer, which is not really suitable for a categories league.
The Blazers are also they're also getting Kevin Knox in this deal, so just another wing to add into that mix. He's terrible, but we don't need to. You don't need to worry about him being an option, but just another body they can throw there on the wing. So he's getting in as a part of this deal as well. I think that Thibault's probably more secure than Reddish, because if they both play 24 minutes a night, Thibault can be a 12-team league guy, whereas Reddish can't. He probably needs 30 or 29 to get there. And I think the path for him getting to 29 when Winslow is there, when Sharp is there, when Little is there, with Kevin Knox there as well, it's pretty hard to see that. to see him get into those minutes. So I think I'd probably go for Thibault, but as you're right, he's really limited. Like, we know what he does, and the rankings will skew with him. They go, man, look, he's the 80th best player. Yeah, that's because he's getting 2 steals and a block and doing absolutely nothing else. So it's got to be really make sense on your team, and it's why rankings can be very misleading in terms of valuing players. So Thibault can help, but not for everybody. Oh, wow. I cannot believe that every player is just going back to their former team. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this keeps happening like this. But
you love to see it.
It's pretty weird. I'm not going to lie. I didn't expect to see like about 10 players go back to their former teams.
In terms of trade deadlines, where does this one rank for you? Was this one of the most epic, the most fun, or is this just kind of lukewarm?
It's confusing. Nah, it's fun. It's fun. It's very confusing. I'm happy that a lot of the things that I wanted to happen in terms of the guys that I was sort of pushing out as stashes, they basically all happened apart from Miles Turner. So I was pretty happy with that. Someone's got people in the chat saying, is Gary Payton an ad? No, he's not. Don't add him in any 12-team league. Someone said, is Mark Williams one? Yes, very clearly. The Hornets someone said the Hornets could still start Nick Richards. Yes, they could, but every piece of evidence would suggest they won't. Like, he's been out of the rotation. They seem committed to this. There's been rumors of Zach LaVine to the Knicks. That doesn't appear like it's going to happen at all. So don't. Yeah, I'm just checking something else. No, nothing else going on there. All right, I'll let you get out of here because you've got to go do some other stuff, Zach, and people can go check you out on NBC Sports Edge's stream later on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man. Enjoy the rest of the trade deadline chatter. I'll talk to you soon.
No worries, man. I'll see you later. Let's go see if Kingy is in the green room already, because we'll see if he's ready to go. He might be. All right. Adam King is the legend here. Is he ready? Let's have a look. The magic of live TV. No, he's not here. That's all right. We'll get him in a second. I'm sure he'll join very, very shortly. All right. So it's just me now. So let's just talk about stuff that we happen. I can't believe how many 5-second. I've never seen a 5-second round pick trade happen ever. And we've had like 10 of them happen today. Mark Williams or Zach Collins. Mark Williams. Can we rank pickups? Samuel, I'm going to do a whole show on that later today because I've got to sit down and actually project all of this stuff out. But to me, it's Mark Williams. Then probably KJ Martin, Zach Collins. Mark Williams, Colin Sexton, KJ Martin, Zach Collins, I'm thinking. The Pelicans intend to hold on to Josh Richardson. Okay, that's good news. Surely Terrence Mann is a pick. I don't know why he would be. Why would Terrence Mann be a pickup, Josh? Remember, Reggie Jackson and John Wall are out. Eric Gordon and Bones Hyland are in. Doesn't really change much for Mann, in my opinion. What's the value of Plumlee now? It is significantly down. Significantly down. That's an interesting thing here. Someone said about Mark Williams or Duran. Duran's value drops because he doesn't have 31-minute upside anymore because they will ridiculously play James Wiseman. And Williams' value goes up, so their value could be the same. But he is here now, the legend. Adam King is here. I'm going to bring him straight in now that he's here with his very well oxygenated greenhouse. Kingy, good morning.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
As we wait for the trades, it's good to have you here back for a reunion because that's the theme of the day in the NBA where everyone's just joining their former teams. What's your initial takeaway? What's your big winner so far?
So I've been listening in Mark Williams in the last 15 minutes. 46 second-round picks. I counted them up.
I said 50. We're not far off. We can still head to 50. So let's. Yeah. I need someone. If I knew what I was doing with being able to whip up something on Photoshop this quickly, like I'd have a little second-round pick tracker going down the bottom. But we're at 46. All right, let's get to 50. We need to get there. Josh Richardson staying with the Pelicans. I think I just said that. The Clippers are sending a 28 second-round pick in addition to... so there's another second-round pick. The Clippers are sending one more along with Reggie Jackson. So we're at 47 now. Let's go. All right.
That's a lot of picks. It's been a pretty wild last hour.
So what... So we're just talking with Zach about stashes. I think my 4 stashes, 3 of them worked. Is there any that you were looking at as good stashes that worked or didn't work, or people that were stashing? Like who are you dropping now? Actually that's not true. I had Precious Achiuwa as a stash, and that's not going to work out.
Yeah, look, I didn't Look, Mark Williams probably is the one that obviously worked out. I think Zach Collins probably another one that worked out. Bones Hyland, still not sure where he fits there. With Jackson gone and Wall gone, he's probably going to have a role. So at least he'll be playing.
He'll have a role. Yeah.
Denver, so
he'll have a role. He'll have like 20 minutes. What it does?
So I'm just going.
What it does make it interesting is that the thought was that maybe Westbrook will go to the Clippers. I'm not sure that he does now. But maybe he does. Maybe they don't view, like, to me, Eric Gordon, Bones Hyland, they can all function as point guards, and they don't use a point guard in their starting line. So maybe Westbrook goes there. I don't know.
Yeah, look, maybe. I still wouldn't add Westbrook will be rostered. I don't want to add him. Devontae Graham's an interesting one, maybe.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's something to watch for sure because we don't know if what Trey Jones's foot is like, and Graham can be useful. Obviously, you'd have to punt field goals because he's going to shoot 34%.
Yeah.
So that's probably part of the concern there. But yeah, what do you think it does? Do you think this boosts Malachi Branham? Like, obviously Richardson out, but Graham in, so it probably leaves you neutral in that sense. I don't mind it. I'd probably add Branham over Graham, but what I said to Zach is I think Branham probably sits as a guy that has a couple of good games and then has a couple of poor ones, and the minutes go all over the place, and you end up dropping him in 2 weeks. 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah, I don't know who I'd prefer out of those two, because I mean Branham's been playing decent minutes anyway,
and the last two games he's stunk as well.
Yeah, so I'm not. I think it solidifies his role, but I don't know how good he can be. I mean, yeah, maybe he's still worth grabbing just to see what happens. What do you think about Plumlee? Do you reckon he could take Zubac's spot? I don't think he takes his spot, but I think Zubac's value comes down.
He takes his minute. He takes some minutes. Yeah. Does it take Zubac's out of 12 team? Maybe. I think it definitely takes Plumlee out of 12 team value because he was riding by getting 33 minutes and ludicrous playing time. Like, that's just not going to happen. But a 26, 22 minute situation where some nights Plumlee plays more than Zubac's, absolutely, that's a possibility, and that's going to hurt both of those guys. So I'd be okay with guys that we've had on our rosters. Achua, okay to drop him. Jalen McDaniels, definitely okay to drop him. I think Mason Plumlee, you can cockroach him out of there. I think he's a drop as well. And I don't feel too much concern about saying that.
Yeah, I'm going to hold Plumlee just for one more
fair
game,
enough.
but it's more like it's a farewell tour, more because he's been so good this season.
No, it's totally fair enough, mate. Because again, look, maybe he does take over. Like, what does Plumlee need though in minutes to be a 12-team league? I think it's got to be like 29, and I don't really know how he gets that.
Yeah, I think in most cases he needs 28, 29. The one league I'm holding him in, I'm punting points, so I just need rebounds, assists, steals. So that's the only league that I potentially may hold him a bit longer just to see if he can get 22 minutes, 24 minutes. He could get some back end value there in my punt build, but yeah, generally speaking, I don't think he gets enough to be rostered.
People are asking questions about Saddiq Bey in Atlanta. At this point, with the trade deadline has just hit, so we'll just wait to see if more deals come through. Bey is not going to be a 12-team league guy, I don't think.
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm just looking at, that's a 4-team trade.
The Bulls did nothing, by the way. That's official. They make no moves. The Pelicans aren't making any more moves. That's what's coming through now. The Bulls, man, they are useless.
Yeah. I sort of was reading that. I mean, I got up like you at about 5:30 and was through half. I was up at
4:30. What are you doing? I was slacking.
I was slacking. I was watching the Bill Russell documentary last night, so I didn't go to bed till late. So, I'd sort of looked like Levine was headed to the Knicks, or that's the path they were going down, and that obviously didn't happen. So, yeah, the Bulls are a mess.
Yeah, what happens with the Raptors now? This is really interesting. Now, maybe a trade trickles through here, but who moves to the bench? Like, who's their starters? All right, Van Vliet, Siakam, yes, they're starting. And then you've got Anunoby, you've got Barnes start as well. So you've got Van Vliet, Barnes, Siakam. Then you've got 2 of Trent, Anunoby, Pirtle. Who's moving to the bench? Gary Trent again? Anunoby move to the bench? Do they start Siakam at center and Pirtle comes off the bench? What the hell happens?
It might depend on the opposition a little bit, but I would think it'll be Trent.
I would think so too.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I just don't think. I think you need Anunoby on the court. I mean, if they've gone in on Pirtle, they obviously they're not tanking. They're not giving up.
People look at Pirtle's numbers this year and they go, man, what would they do that he's not good? No, he's actually good. He is good. This was a weird season. He got jerked around on a bad team. He's actually really good. I had him in top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year last season. I think he's an unbelievably good defensive center who can actually pass and facilitate a lot. I think he's extraordinarily underrated. And I think people might actually start to realize that it is part of the season. I think he's really quite good.
Yeah. I think they needed him there, and Trent's come off the bench, and God, they need scoring off the bench. So yeah,
they do.
I would think it would be Trent that would move.
To me, it's obviously between Trent and Anunoby, and if one of those guys gets traded, it makes it easier. Trent can still get 30 minutes off the bench, but obviously this is going to kill guys like Bush. Probably kills Boucher, but kills Achua a lot more, I would guess.
Yeah, if I had to pick between both of those guys, I'd probably still hold Boucher over Achua, but I'm not sure either are going to be 12-team guys. Very
interesting. The Nets didn't make any other moves today apart from Jay Crowder. So that is, so their rotation still remains just what is going on. There's just too many wings on that team. The only guys I feel safe with is Nick Claxton and Dinwiddie, really. And Mikal Bridges. I feel really solid on those guys being 34 to 30. Well, say let's Claxton go to 32 maybe, and then up to 36 minutes for those other three. And then it's just, who knows? Thomas, Johnson, Finney-Smith, O'Neal, Curry, Harris, Simmons. I don't know. There's too many guys there, and it's going to be very, very weird. Could see from the old boss man here, David Locke said that we're looking at 5 first-round picks that got traded today. 4 from the Nets and Durant plus the swap. Then there's 1 from the Spurs and Toronto. And then there's the reported Jazz deal. Was there a first-round pick? Oh, yeah. There's the Lakers pick there. So 6 first-round picks, it looks like, have been moved, and 47 second-round picks. That's crazy.
Yeah, that sounds about right. On that Nets roster, first thing I thought yesterday when they acquired Cam Johnson, I mean, Jay Crowder's been traded, but I just thought, God, they've just got a team full of wings now, so they have to make some moves, because I've got Finney-Smith in the league, I've got Cam Johnson in a couple of leagues. I have no idea how many minutes they're going to play now.
What do you make of Saddiq Bey moving on in Detroit? Isaiah Stewart's going to lock in as the starting power forward. Someone said, does this change things for Ivy? I don't think it does anything for Ivy at all. What it does do is it means that Isaiah Livers locks in as that backup 3-4. He probably plays 27 minutes and doesn't really have a value in a 12 or 14 team league. He's been pretty poor in that regard. But I guess the question is, what do you make of Passport legend Jalen Duren? I'm wearing my Passport shirt actually here today to support Jalen Duren. What do you make of Jalen Duren and James Wiseman situation? And of course, the stupidity of the Marvin Bagley contract, which hopefully is banished into the ether forever now. We never have to hear about Marvin Bagley again. But what do you make of the Duren-Wiseman situation?
Well, I hope it's Duren. I think we've seen enough from Wiseman to know that Duren is better.
Oh, he's already better in the NBA. Maybe that'll change, but he's younger and better. So yeah.
Look, I mean, Wiseman probably, hopefully he plays over Bagley at least when Bagley's back. But
I would think so.
I'd still hold Duren. I think the short answer is I'd still hold Duren and Wiseman. Maybe in deeper leagues he might get sort of 18 minutes a night, 15, 18 minutes, which might be enough in really deep leagues.
To be fair to Wiseman, he has improved in the moments that I've seen him this season. I think he's better than Marvin Bagley. I think he can be someone that they can look to in those minutes. It probably caps Duren's ceiling, but I think it's still 27-21 at best, that minute split heading towards Duren. I don't really think that Wiseman's coming in on an unfamiliar team when he's been worse and injured and taking minutes away from the younger, better player. I really don't think that's going to happen. Well, it looks like the Raptors haven't traded anybody, so, I mean, cool. It's like, all right. So that's okay. So some of the trades we hoped for happened, but the ones that were all but guaranteed, like the Raptors blowing things up, the Bulls blowing, that didn't happen. And we saw random stuff go on. Now we've got Mark Stein saying Minnesota is not expected to pursue a reunion with Patrick Beverley if he hits the buyout. Interesting. Someone said that he was before that. It was a Wolves person that said he was, and now Stein is saying he's not. We're not. the Beverly situation, what do you make of that? There's nothing to see there in Orlando, is there? Like, obviously, Bumba out, Beverly in. We don't need to care about that too much, do we?
No, I don't think so. No, Bumba was barely so.
Someone's putting in bullshit trades in the chat here. OG to Miami, is this real? No, it's not. It's real if I tell you it's real. It's not real. What about the interesting situation of what is going on in Phoenix now? Obviously, Durant's still hurt. Like, are you picking up anyone there between Craig and Warren, Baisley, Wainwright, Okogie? You doing anything with those guys?
I don't think so. None of them really jump out. I think Warren would be the one. If I had to pick one, it would just be Warren because he's been there before. We know he can score. But yeah, no, I don't see any of those guys as targets.
Raptors officially done. Woj just said they're not doing anything. Didn't trade anybody. So yeah, don't drop Gary Trent. I don't know if him or OG moves to the bench. It kills Precious, and I think it really hurts Boucher as well.
Yeah, Precious, I think he's done. And Boucher probably as well.
Which is fine because he's not very good. So that's totally okay with me that he's done because, again, he is not very good. Oh, Kingy, maybe we should... I'm trying to see where we are. Maybe we should bring some chat questions up on the screen and see. It's flying here. Hey, I want to hit 2,000 likes. If you are here and you haven't hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs up. Jonathan Arnold, I'm just going to start with a softball here. Drop Brandon Clark for Mark Williams. Yep. Okay. All right, let's go to Oklahoma City. F says, is Jalen Williams, that's the pig, is he the starter now? No. Mike Muscala wasn't the starter. They didn't have a starter. They rotated between Kenrich Williams, Pig Williams, Mike Muscala, Eugene Omarui, Baisley occasionally. Jalen Williams is not guaranteed the starter. Now, it's trending that way, and he's looking pretty solid. But remember, Robinson Earl is coming back from injury. They did just get Dario Saric as well. So for a situation that you might think looks clearer, it's actually probably worse. Like, because Saric is in that mix now as well, and you're going to have Robinson Earl coming back. So I like what old mate Jalen Williams has been looking like lately. I don't think that he's a clear ad, and he's definitely not the clear starter.
No, as you said, they don't have a starter. They have a different center every game.
Literally every game.
He was good against the Lakers. Look, give him that. That was probably the best game of his career, almost.
He was awesome, yeah.
But so maybe that gets him sort of a look at the starting spot, but based on what we've seen, I think they're just going to go with a different guy.
I know I've said this a million times, so must-add players, Jonathan Kim must. Mark Williams is number one to me. Then you look at Colin Sexton, KJ Martin, Zach Collins. They're, to me, the clear four that are available in like at least 30 to 40% of leagues. Like they're the clear four guys to me that you want to add in 12s. Unless there's someone else that I'm missing, they look to me to be the clear ones. But I'm going to do, after we finish this live stream, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to go through all of my projections, then I'm going to come back with a more detailed look with information I'm not trying to process in my head as it's actually happening. But they're the four that I look at. Mark Williams, KJ Martin, Colin Sexton, Zach Collins. They're the four that I look at as pretty solid 12-team ads at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably been added by now, but I'd add Josh Green into that list.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I added him, and he was good yesterday.
He was, but there's also a pretty big player not playing there, and he shot 71% in that game, which is not obviously really. Only took 7 shots in that game. I don't mind him. I think he could be like one of those players, Josh Green, who's like hovers between 120th and 160th. On and off, which is okay. Like, it's like what Harrison Barnes gives you, or it's like what Herb Jones gives you. Like, that's the sort of player that I think he might end up being. And I think he's going to have a solid enough role. But, like, who do they start? Luka, Kyrie. Yeah? Luka, Kyrie starting. Looks like Dwight Powell's going to start. And then you've got Hardaway, Bullock, who's playing really well at the moment, Josh Green and Christian Wood. 2 of those guys aren't going to start. And maybe it is Green, but maybe it's not. Like, is Bullock and Hardaway the guy that starts? Someone has to go to the bench when Luka returns, and it's either going to be Bullock, Hardaway, or Green. I think they start Green, but I'm not convinced.
Yeah, we'll have to see who they go with. Bullock, Bullock was so bad for the first.
He was, but then he's been awesome the last 2 games.
Really good, yeah. What do you think? I mean, I don't think he's a 12-team guy, but what do you think about Agbaji?
Shithouse, I think. Look, I think he's going to get more minutes. And that's pretty clear, but like we saw it yesterday, what he shoot like 0 of 4 in 25 minutes. He's got a horrible fantasy profile as a player who just is not a high volume guy. He's shooting 3 really well, but rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, he's never even heard of those things before. He's got no hope of getting them. And he's not a starter, but he can take Malik Beasley's role. I wouldn't waste a 12-team ad. He'll have moments where I'm sure he's going to come up when I do my streaming show, go, hey, you can stream in Oshai Agbaji today because he might be okay in that role, but he's definitely not someone with what I've seen from him in 4 years at college and from what I've seen from him in the NBA, that the fantasy profile just isn't there, and he's still not a starter at this point. I'd be more inclined to add Taylor Horton-Tucker, to be honest, as the backup point guard who can play. Like Sexton will play his 33 minutes a night. Horton-Tucker might play 21. Horton-Tucker might average 12, 5, and 5 in 21 minutes. He's that sort of a player. He can be really frustrating with his shooting, but I think he's an interesting guy. Yeah, I think Branham's another one that I'd consider in 12s, but I'm a little bit on edge with that because Sohan, Langford, Trey Jones all coming back hurting, plus Graham probably will play somewhat there too. So Branham will be, maybe he'll be like that Josh Green guy, the guy that sort of hovers in between that 120 to 160 range. Branham does get by a lot on volume and efficiency, and I'm not sure where the volume sits when Jones and Sohan are playing. And again, Vassell, he could be back in 3-4 weeks. I don't know, but he could be. And that would obviously kill everything completely with Branham. Guys that you can drop, there's plenty of drops opening up, like Dennis Schroeder, very clear drop. Tom Bryant, if for some reason you're still holding him, very clear drop. Achua, very clear drop as well. I think, where were you on Bones Hyland as a stash?
Oh, look, I didn't stash him anyway. I think you could have stashed him because he was obviously going to get traded. So I think we knew that much. Yeah, I think he probably only plays 20 minutes now. So
yeah, what do we think of
stash in a deeper league? But
what do you think of Tari Eason?
Well, what I want to think and what I do think are two different things. I'd like to think that this opens up some playing time for him, but
you'd like to think that, but yeah.
I have no confidence in Silas.
No, you shouldn't, because we've seen Eric Gordon miss plenty of games and nothing happens. And they added 2 veteran wings back in Danny Green and Justin Holiday. Whether they play or not, I've got no idea, but they are veteran wings who play the position that Tari Eason doesn't. So there is that possibility there as well. I don't think I've got your thoughts on it. What do you think about the Portland situation with Josh Hart gone?
Yeah, I was just looking at that actually. I was going to say, what do you think about Cam Reddish in Portland? I
don't know, man. There's just too many guys there. Winslow, Little, Reddish, Thibault, Sharp.
Thibault's there now too.
I think
Kevin Knox.
Okay, all right. Yeah, all right, cool. With those guys, I don't think any of them get more than 25 minutes, and the only one of those blokes who in 25 minutes can even sniff 12 team is Thibault because of steals and blocks. But he's not for everybody because he'll average 3 points a game with 2 rebounds and an assist, but he'll have 2 steals and a block. He might average a Richie Beno, 2 points, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He's not going to do anything more than that. And that's useful for some teams, and it's absolutely shitouts for others. And in points leagues, you've got nothing to do with that. And there's just so... And Justice Winslow, the other one, when he eventually returns, he could get in that mix too. So there's just a bunch of... No one's going to come in and play, I don't think, 33 Josh Hart minutes. I don't think that's what they'll do. And even if they do, I'm not even convinced they'd be must-roster 12-team league guys. Cam Reddish played 33, maybe because he's a good steals and threes guy. But if Winslow played 33, they'd probably yes, because he can rack up some numbers. But it's all just very, very confusing there.
Yeah, they're basically trying to squeeze sort of 4 guys into one spot. So I don't see how that works out unless they're just going to bench, not play certain guys and only play Reddish and Thibault or something. But,
they're going to have to not play some of these guys. But is that still even enough? It's a very, I don't know. It means Jeremy Grant will probably never play the 3 because they don't have any 4s at all. Winslow will have to be the backup 4 when he comes back. Reddish is not really a 4. He's more of a 2-3 than anything. It looks like there's no other trades floating through, which is weird because usually we get stuff coming through. But no, it looks like we're done with this Kingy, that no other trades are coming in. So we got a bunch of players traded. I'm going to run through everyone who was traded today. Just go through all the names. Mike Muscala. And you can give me... I'll tell you these players' names. They're the players moving, not necessarily everyone else. But tell me whether you think that they're 12-team ads or not. Mike Muscala.
No.
Justin Jackson.
No.
Jay Crowder.
No.
Tom Bryant.
No.
Davon Reed.
No.
Jordan Nwora.
No.
Matisse Thybulle.
Maybe
Agree.
Stream sort of fringy if you need steals and blocks.
Jalen McDaniels.
Where did he go again?
Philadelphia.
Nah.
No, I agree. Svima Hyluk.
No.
George Hill.
No.
Serge Ibaka.
No.
The 5-minute man, Bones Hyland.
Well, let's see what his role looks like. Probably not.
That's a no from me. Darius Baisley.
No.
Dario Saric.
No.
Saddiq Bey.
He's at the...
No, he's at the Hawks.
No, he's at Atlanta.
It's a no from me.
Probably a no.
He's backing up Collins and Hunter and battling with Bogdanovic for touches. He was a guy that needed to be on a terrible team and allow him to take as many terrible shots as he wanted to. And while he's not on a great team, he's not going to have that runway. So that's a no from me.
No. I think if Collins had been traded, maybe.
Yes, agree.
But once again, Collins is stuck in it.
Of course, him and Miles Turner, one-team legends. Justin Holiday.
Well, God, I hope not.
No. Frank Kaminsky.
No.
Garrison Matthews.
No.
Bruno Fernando.
No.
Eric Gordon.
No. Well, no. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the Clippers are going to do, but probably not.
Luke Kennard.
I was looking at him. I don't think so.
If they had traded Dylan Brooks, I would have been interested, but they're not.
Yeah. I mean, I'd play him over Dylan. Well, Dylan Brooks.
I would too. That's what. Yeah. Dylan Brooks. No, to be fair to him, the worst offensive player I've ever seen. Shout out to Precious Achua, but a really good defender.
Yeah. So no, probably not.
John Wall, who is getting waived, so we don't know where he's going to end up. Danny Green.
No.
Patrick Beverley.
Well, it depends, I guess, where he ends up. But
no.
At the moment, no.
Mo Bamba.
No.
Nope, agree.
I don't think so, no. Maybe a streamer.
Yeah, doubt it.
But I doubt it.
He's got to battle Vanderbilt and Davis for minutes. Josh Richardson.
Probably not.
No, I can't see it.
But I think in a real life perspective, that's a really nice get for the Pelicans.
He's a really solid player. Devontae Graham. That's a maybe to me. That's a maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Kevin Knox, lol. Mason Plumlee.
Oh,
no,
I'd hope so, just because I want his season to keep rolling.
He's a drop.
Probably not.
Reggie Jackson.
Well, in Charlotte. I mean, he's not going to start, obviously.
He's not. He'll play. He'll be 21, 22 minutes.
He'll play, yeah. I doubt it. I mean, yeah.
The last two, Kevin Knox, which we talked about already, and Gary Payton is the last one.
No.
So out of players that change teams, there's not really, out of today, there's not really any ads of players that change teams. What is interesting is what happened in the wake of those guys. Zach Collins, Mark Williams, KJ Martin, Colin Sexton. It's those guys that ended up with that value, and then it's guys getting squished on other teams, like Plumlee getting squished and Achua getting squished and Boucher getting squished and all of that sort of stuff. So that's sort of where we sit with that, I think. But to me, Mark Williams looks to be the biggest winner. Would you add Nick Richards? I think I would. I definitely would in 14s, and I would consider it in 12s.
Yeah, 14s, yes. 12s. Oh, look, yeah, I mean, I think if you've got a roster, if you've been saving up a roster spot and Mark Williams is gone and a few other guys are gone, I'd probably take a look, because he could get 20 minutes, could get 22 minutes.
He could. Rob Byron says, does Diallo do anything with Bay's minutes gone? Now, Diallo's been playing pretty well. He functions like a center, like almost like Gary Payton, a center in a small forward's body, a shooting guard's body. And what I think probably ends up happening is Isaiah Livers just takes most of those minutes and pushes up. But with Knox gone, with Bay gone, Diallo will at least solidify at 2021. That's not really a 12-teamer. It's more of a deeper league situation. But it is one to watch, Rob, for sure.
Yeah, Diallo's interesting because whenever he gets minutes, he puts up big numbers, steals, rebounds.
Yep.
But they only play
shoot.
him.
Yeah, because he can't shoot.
Yeah, so they don't play him unless they have to. In 20, look, I mean, if he's getting 20, 22 minutes,
it's one to watch. He's
deeper
like,
leagues,
you know who
at
he
least.
is? He's like, he's KJ Martin, but KJ Martin, someone, cause this takes me under this question from Ganondorf, I'm sure doesn't know his real name. He says, why is KJ Martin an ad? Because Eric Gordon's gone and KJ Martin will start and play 30 plus minutes every night now. And I think that's pretty clear. And he's been an ad for the last 3 weeks anyway, KJ Martin. He's a very, very clear ad, but Diallo is KJ Martin. They play almost the exact same game. And if Diallo played 30 minutes a night, I probably would add him, but he's not going to at this stage.
Yeah, agreed.
Which we'll find out more about that as we move forward. We've got a few more minutes here, so let's ask a few more questions. Hayden reckons Nick Richards is going to start. I'd be really, really shocked at that. But you never know. It is old Steve Clifford, so random stuff could happen. What do you make of... What's this? Rank of these drops. DiVincenzo, Eubanks, and Eason. I don't know if any of them are drops, really. Like, DiVincenzo maybe would have been a drop, but I don't really think who the Warriors get. Gary Payton, like, does that impact DiVincenzo? I don't think any of them are guaranteed drops.
No, I don't think so. Eubanks, well, yeah, it's nothing with Eubanks there. Eason, well, is he a hold? Well, yeah, you'd probably just hold him and see.
Let's just hold. Yeah, I'm not excited about it, but I'll hold.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sort of panicking and dropping these guys.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do anything silly there. Terrence Mann, Josh says Terrence Mann has cut his teeth at the start. The Clippers seem to trust him. Does he project over Bones and Eric Gordon? I think they'll keep starting Mann, but I think it'll still be the same thing where he plays 24 minutes a night. Like, really what happened, Jackson, Wall out, by Bones and Gordon in, and someone's going to take a hit there. Like, Covington will get squeezed out of the rotation entirely, yeah, but everyone like drops a little bit because both Jackson and Wall, and Kennard out of the rotation, but Kennard wasn't even playing. So, like, we're basically losing Jackson out of the rotation because Kennard was not really a part of the rotation. Jackson's gone, and then you're adding Gordon and Hyland in. So this doesn't mean that Mann gets a much bigger role because, I think he might actually lose minutes.
Yeah, and he shouldn't have been rostered anyway. So,
no, he shouldn't have. His last game was really good, but yeah. No.
Yeah, he had one good game. So no, I don't think this helps his value at all.
Ed says, what's Killian Hayes' value after the trade deadline? I don't think anything really changes for him. Saddiq Bey's absence doesn't hurt or hinder him, but he's back in the starting lineup, and I believe he is a 12-team league ad. So he's an ad, but he is... already been at. Cosmo says, so many people asking about Mark Williams. Talk about his value a little. I don't know how much more I could talk about Mark Williams. I've talked about him every day on the show for the last 3 weeks, at least as a stash. Been talking about him since December as a guy to watch. And we've said multiple times that he's the biggest winner of today. I'm not sure what more you want me to tell you. Like, he's a top 100 guy here. He's probably top 70 moving forward. There is some skepticism about what they do with Richards in minute splits, but this is a top 100 guy. He's clearly the pickup of the day, if he wasn't picked up already, but you should have picked him up weeks ago. And just enjoy it. I think that's probably about it. What do you think? What do you make of... People ask this question a lot. What about Mark Williams or Daniel Gafford? If you're making that decision, your team's really strong because I think they're both top 100 players.
Yeah, I think they are. I think I got asked this. Or no, I got asked Gafford and throw
Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren, Mark Williams, Daniel Gafford. They're all top 100 players. So if you're asking that question, assess the rest of your roster because these are all guys that'll be in a similar zone, but they're all really bloody good. And they're not your worst 3 players. Like, I can almost assure you of that.
No, if they are, then you've got a good roster.
You got a ridiculously good roster, and then it doesn't actually matter because your team's that good anyway.
Yeah. I think, I mean, if looking at those 4 there, Collins would be the 4th in my list.
I agree. Yep.
And then I'd probably, if I had to pick one, if I could take a bit of a risk, I'd probably go Williams only because we haven't seen him. He hasn't played more than 20 minutes, 21 minutes. I think he had
22 minutes. I think he had in one.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is he? He's top 120 over the last month in 14 minutes. So theoretically he could double, go to 28 minutes. I don't know if it happens, but if he does, he could be top 60.
Raphael says, but you have limited spots for center. Only if you're in a bad league. Like, if you're in a bad league, you've got limited spots for centers. Otherwise, you should be able to hold 6 or 7 of them if you're in a real league. Mikey says, how is Bumba not a speculative ad? The minutes are there for him as a backup center. Are they? Are they, though? Or does Vanderbilt get the backup center minutes? Because Vanderbilt's a center, and he will play a little bit next to Davis, but Davis plays 35 minutes a night, so there's 13 minutes there for Bumba, and that's if Vanderbilt plays no minutes as center. So yeah, that's a strong no for me. I'm happy for others to debate that, but yeah, he's the backup center. That's again, Davis is playing 34 to 35 minutes. That's 14 minutes of Bumba. If Vanderbilt plays no minutes at center, sure. If Davis gets hurt, I'm more than happy to add Mo Bumba. I'm not doing it now though. What do you think on that, Kingy?
Yeah, I agree. Do you reckon they start Vanderbilt next to Davis?
I got no idea.
It's not
I
a
wouldn't.
good fit.
I wouldn't because because of the shooting issues that Davis has. I'd rather have LeBron and Davis and then put Beasley out there. But the removal of Beverly from the rotation makes, because I would have probably started Beverly and Beasley at the 2 and the 3, and now Beverly is gone. So I think they'll probably go Russell, Beverly. Now the question's going to come down to, do you want Hachimura or Vanderbilt in there? Now Hachimura's got his faults. There are a lot of them. But he can at least be somewhat of a spot-up shooter if you put him into that role. And Vanderbilt is sort of just going to maybe clog things up a little bit, which, again, the addition of Bumba limits Vanderbilt's backup center minutes and then how he fits as a starter. So I'm not really sure that Vanderbilt is this gigantic winner from this deadline. I think he might end up being sort of the same as he was before.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, you could make a case for, if they're not going to start Vanderbilt and he's just going to play backup center, Bumba, where does Bumba fit?
He doesn't. He's gone. Like he's just insurance there. But on the Lakers, Caesar says, what do you think about Malik Beasley now that Beverly's out? I think Beasley's going to play 30-plus minutes a night. The problem with Malik Beasley, Kingy, is that he gets points and threes, but he's hot and cold. He doesn't do anything else. He won't do anything else. He's not going to be a gigantic usage player with Russell, James, and Davis all in the lineup next to him. So he might get 14 points with 3 threes, but then 4 boards, 1 assist, no steals, no blocks, which is okay. But when he has a cold shooting night, then there's nothing there. So he's fine to add, but his situation, does it change much from where it was in Utah? Maybe there's an extra 2-3 minutes there. That's possible. Instead of playing 28 minutes, he plays 32. That's really possible. But he could also see less of the ball.
Yeah, I think I was asked about him last night as well, and I said pretty similar to what you said there. I said probably 15 points, 3 to 4 threes. So if you need points and threes, but he'd been in a pretty similar role in Utah, so it doesn't change too much. It maybe makes his minutes a bit more consistent, but yeah, he doesn't add value in a lot of categories, so he is who he is.
One thing you notice when you do a lot of these shows, and a lot of people in here, is that not everyone sort of sees how the rotations always pan out. Like someone here, Luke, it's not having a go at you because it's really hard to keep a track on things, but it's important to sort of clarify this stuff. Like, does James Wiseman affect Alf Stewart? Not really. I don't think Stewart's just going to be the starting power forward, play 30 minutes and do what he's been doing. He won't get any backup center minutes, but all his minutes will come at the 4. But with Bey gone, that's fine. He'll just play all those minutes at the 4. So I don't really think it impacts Isaiah Stewart much at all. Because again, people often get confused. They either look up ESPN and go, see, this is the position that the player says he plays, or their fantasy provider go, this is where he plays, and they'll say Isaiah Stewart's listed as a center. I don't even know if he'll play a single second at center anymore for the rest of the season, but the guy who was playing power forward, Saddiq Bey, is not there. So Stewart will just sort of stick at that 30 minutes a night, 31 minutes a night, starting power forward. He'll be terrible at it, and I think that'll keep on going. Oh, by the way, shout out to Troy Weaver for not trading Bojan Bogdanovic. Legend. Like, legendary bad GM, Troy Weaver, that people think is the best GM in the world.
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, no, Stewart is not a center.
He's not a power forward either. He's nothing. Here we go. Gruden's Grinders. What are your Cam Thomas thoughts now that Brooklyn traded everyone away? Brooklyn traded everyone away, but also got more people back. So they traded away the big names, but they also got back a bunch of very quality NBA rotation players. I still think that like Mikal Bridges and Spencer Dinwiddie are quite good offensive players, and they will be given the opportunity to be the maybe not the 1 and 2, because Thomas is going to take shots whenever he gets the opportunity, but they're not going to sit around and have 3 shots a game like Ben Simmons does.
No, I'm really curious to see what their rotation looks like. It's probably, of all the teams, that's the one that I don't know when they play. Finney-Smith and Dinwiddie. Oh, they play tonight, don't they?
Yeah, which we get a half look at it because Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith will play, but we still don't know exactly.
No, so we don't get Johnson. So I mean, Thomas tonight for sure. And look, if you've added him, you just hold him and you wait and see.
Exactly. Kingy, I reckon we're going to head out now because I've got to go do these projections and then come back with a more detailed show on this trade deadline, and then a what to watch for show for tomorrow with streaming options as well. Tell us what you're going to be chatting with Zach pretty soon on the NBC Sports Edge show, I think.
I think I'm just going to go and have some breakfast and get ready for work. And then I think I'm on with Zach in about an hour and a half.
All right. Oh, actually, can I give you one quick thought? What do you think of Josh Hart in New York?
I tweeted out he could play 50 minutes a night.
Yeah, but he also could play behind Quentin Grimes.
He could, yeah. I think Grimes is a better, probably offensively in terms of just his
Much better
shooting
shooter,
and his floor spacing. Whereas Josh Hart feels like a Tibbs kind of defensive guy I can just throw out there for 36 minutes and let him go. So,
yeah, I think he's got a real... The thing is, if he gets 35 minutes a night, then Quickly and Grimes are going to play 20 apiece. And we'll see how... Because Josh Hart is replacing 0 minutes in the rotation, so somebody is losing out. And McBride was playing 10 minutes, so they're not coming from him. They're coming from someone else. Just be aware that Quickly's a pretty good drop, I think. And I reckon Grimes is already a drop to me, and there's no way his value increases in this situation. So he can go as well. King, I'll let you go. And I'll let everyone else go that was here in this show. Kingy, thank you once more.
Thank you, mate.
Guys, hit a like. I want to hit a 2,000 likes. Are we there yet? Oh, we have hit 2,000. Probably too much to ask for 3,000. Go and hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the show if you listen to this on audio. I'm glad you were there and listen to this in the aftermath of it. We're going to do a full recap show of the deadline that'll come in a few hours once I've got everything sorted. Follow this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. If you're on YouTube, you know what to do. You thumb it up, you subscribe, you ring the bell. You guys have been great. Thank you for being a part of the show, guys. I will see you later. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.